I just finished reading a novel called The Capitalist's Daughter Goes to the Countryside in the 60s and Marries a Rough Man. The crazy thing is, the book has two side characters with the exact same names as me and my husband, Lu Yunting. We're both just small throwaway characters in the story, but we come from capitalist families, which sounds kind of exciting. Deep down, I had this strange feeling that maybe we were about to transmigrate into this book. So I put down my phone and shook my husband awake. "Honey, wake up. We might be about to get rich." He rubbed his eyes, pulled me close, kissed my face, and told me not to stress. He said even if we never get rich, at least his job as a police officer would keep us fed. He didn't believe me at all. But he's been my childhood sweetheart forever, and he always spoils me. So when I pushed the phone into his hands and told him to read the novel, he agreed. In the book, the version of me is a pitiful nobody. My real mom died early, and my stepmom gave my terrible father 2 sons and a daughter. After that, I became the lowest person in the family. My dad and stepmom ran off to Hong Kong with all the money and left me behind to take all the blame. Book version Lu Yunting had almost the same sad story. His real parents treated him like garbage. We didn't even know each other in the novel. We were both just small cannon fodder that the villain dragged out to humiliate whenever she wanted to mess with the female lead. The female lead survived everything because of her plot armor, but we both got publicly shamed over and over until we got sick and died in a cowshed in the countryside. When I woke up the next morning, my husband wasn't beside me. I was hungry. I called out for him, and then I noticed something strange. I was holding a jade pendant I'd never seen before. My heart dropped. I looked around. The room was dead silent. I ran to the window and pulled open the curtains. Our neighborhood, all the villas, everything was gone. This was not our home in the capital anymore. I almost panicked. Did I transmigrate alone? Where was my big tall husband? Then a screen appeared in front of me, like a floating monitor. It said, "Congratulations, host. You've been selected to experience our transmigration system. You can live a brand new life inside a novel world. We've prepared a special pocket dimension for you with spiritual spring water and rich black soil. You have 3 days to stock up on supplies. After 3 days, you can bring one person with you, just hold hands, and transmigrate together into the year 1968 inside the novel. Give the jade pendant to the person you want to bring. Once they drip blood on it, they can share the pocket dimension with you. Enjoy your 100-year journey, and don't forget to give me a 5-star review." I couldn't believe it. My dream actually came true. I felt like I'd won the lottery. I thought about leaving the dimension, and instantly I was back in the real world, lying next to my husband who had fallen asleep holding my phone. I shook him awake hard. "Honey, we're really going to transmigrate into the book. Will you come with me to the 1960s in a parallel world and stay my husband?" He said yes right away. This life, next life, every life, he wants to be with me. I was so happy. I grabbed his finger, bit it to draw blood, and dripped it onto the jade pendant. The pendant disappeared, and the next second we were both standing inside the pocket dimension in our pajamas. I explained everything to him. He looked stunned, but he nodded. After all, we'd just teleported. Now, he finally believed we could really transmigrate. I told him everything the system had said, then gave him a suspicious look. "Did you actually read that novel last night?" He nodded. "I read the whole thing." "Good boy," I said, pinching his cheek. "We don't have any family to say goodbye to. We both grew up in an orphanage with no parents. We never had children either. I lost our first baby years ago when I was working too hard at a big tech company, and it damaged my body." Lu Yunting felt so bad about my suffering that he got a vasectomy, so we've been child-free ever since. Before leaving the dimension, I pulled him to the yard to drink the spiritual spring water to improve our health. The spring was an old-fashioned well. You had to lower a wooden bucket to pull water up. Lu Yunting hauled up a bucket. I scooped some into a cup and was about to drink, but he grabbed it from my hands and drank it first. I knew my husband was testing the water for me, making sure it was safe before I drank it. That's just how he is. We grew up together, and he's always protected me. Right after he drank it, I noticed black, muddy stuff oozing out of the skin on his face and neck, and he started to stink horribly. But he told me he felt amazing. Old injuries from his police missions that had bothered him for years were suddenly healed, and his body felt light and free. I pinched my nose and told him to go shower immediately. He ran off because even he couldn't stand his own smell. I quickly gulped down 2 big cups of the spring water myself, thinking about how it could also make my skin better, and then ran to the bathroom too. Liu Yunting was sweet enough to let me use the downstairs bathroom. An hour later, we met again in the living room. He looked even more handsome and younger than before. I've always been a sucker for his looks. Back when he first joined the police force, someone took his photo on the street during patrol and posted it online, and the whole internet agreed he was gorgeous. He picked me up and spun me around happily. He didn't dare say I looked prettier though. He knows that's a trick question. Smart man. After we left the pocket dimension, we split up to get things done. Liu Yunting handled selling our villa. I went online to order food, drinks, and clothes. He also ordered appliances and tools, everything with same-day local delivery. That afternoon, we drove out to every big supermarket nearby and loaded up on rice, grain, all kinds of food, and snacks. Having enough food means having peace of mind. The next morning, we moved all the online orders into the pocket dimension. Amazingly, the dimension had automatically created several warehouses and sorted everything we bought at the supermarket into neat categories. Then we headed out to farmers' markets to buy vegetables, fruit, and seafood, but we ran out of cash. Luckily, that afternoon, a middleman brought a buyer for our villa. We were in a hurry, so we sold it at 30% below market price. The buyer loved the interior, and we quickly signed the deal. It broke my heart. That villa represented 10 years of killing myself with overtime at a big tech company. The property value had already been dropping since I bought it, and now we knocked off another 30%. Half my life's earnings gone just like that. Liu Yunting came back to the car from the housing bureau, patted my head, and comforted me. Hey, we still have an identical villa inside the pocket dimension. If you think about it, we actually came out ahead. I laughed. You're right. We're about to go to 1968 and clean out a capitalist family's fortune. We'll never have to work ourselves to death for money again. He drove us around to buy seafood, live chickens, ducks, goats, rabbits, all kinds of vegetable seeds, rice and wheat seeds, fruit tree saplings. Our dimension has a huge stretch of rich black soil where we can farm. Then we went to the countryside to buy farming machinery. 2 exhausting days of running around, and we finally had everything we needed. That night we checked into a hotel just for appearances, but we actually slept inside the villa in our pocket dimension. The next morning we split up again. I went to bookstores and libraries to buy books while Liu Yunting downloaded every digital resource he could find online. 2 generators that he'd asked a friend to get were also delivered. By the evening of the 3rd day, we stopped rushing. We had a romantic candlelit dinner at the hotel, ate until we were stuffed, then went back to our room. We held hands, lay down on the bed together, and fell asleep waiting to transmigrate into the novel's parallel world, the year 1968. Bang, bang, bang. I woke up to someone violently pounding on a door. I opened my eyes in a daze. Slowly, memories that weren't mine started flooding into my brain, the original Shun Yinxin's memories. The Shin family was actually wealthy, but with a terrible father and a cruel stepmother running the household, the original me lived worse than a servant. Servants at least got paid. She worked all day and still couldn't eat enough. If she didn't work, she'd get beaten and starved completely. Feeling those memories firsthand hit so much harder than reading a few quick lines in a novel. Tears rolled down my face before I even realized it. Then the person outside the door lost patience and screamed, "Shun Yinxin, are you dead or deaf? If you don't get up and make breakfast right now, I'll have Mom and Dad beat you to death. You useless trash." I jumped out of bed, furious and ready to open that door and hit someone. But the second my feet touched the floor, I realized how weak this body was. Just getting angry for a moment left me gasping for breath. I quickly slipped into the pocket dimension and chugged a big cup of spiritual spring water. I felt better right away, but then a terrible stench started pouring off my body. This original body had so many toxins built up inside it. The smell nearly knocked me out. I wanted to take a shower, but then I heard kicking sounds at the door. The Shin family was really about to break in and beat me. I rushed out of the dimension just in time. A crash. The door slammed open. It was my stepmother's 2 fat sons. I couldn't fight them both. You little wretch. You eat our food, drink our water, and now you want to be lazy? I'll beat you to death. Shinyazu cursed as he swung his foot at me. I spun out of the way, and his kick smashed right into the leg of the broken wooden bed. The bed leg snapped. His own leg got stuck in the wreckage, and he screamed like a pig. I couldn't help but secretly laugh. That was so satisfying to watch. How dare you dodge? The other one, Shin Yaonan, raised his fist to punch me. But then he caught a whiff of the horrible stench coming off my body. It was so bad, he stumbled backward, keeping his distance. You disgusting wretch. Did you eat crap or something? How can you smell this bad? I wanted to rip that guy's mouth apart, but I had to hold back. A better idea popped into my head. I'll go make breakfast, I said, and slipped out quickly. Behind me, Shin Yaizu finally pulled his foot free from the broken bed and screamed at his brother to chase me down and beat me. But Shin Yaonan said there was no rush. Let me cook first. They'd have plenty of chances to hit me later. I walked into the kitchen and shut the door. The black gunk coming out of my skin had built up to 3 layers by now, and I was about to pass out from my own stench. I quickly entered the pocket dimension, took a fast bath, and then I took my dirty bathwater and used it to cook for the Shin family. I boiled a big pot of porridge with it. I was worried they might notice something off and refuse to eat, so I dumped in a whole packet of rich beef bone broth powder to cover the taste. Those scumbags were getting off easy, honestly. But the real trick was the packet of laxatives I mixed in too. When the porridge was done, I lifted the lid, and even I had to admit it smelled amazing. The Shin family would definitely love it. The color looked a little strange though, so I grabbed some century eggs from the cabinet, mashed them up with a stick, and tossed them in. I also found a piece of pork that had gone a bit bad, didn't wash it, just chopped it roughly, and threw it in the pot. 1 pot of century egg and pork porridge, ready to serve. I looked around the kitchen and spotted the pickled vegetables that the original me and the servants had made. I deliberately rubbed both my hands on the dirty floor several times before reaching into the jar to grab the pickles. I had just set the porridge and pickles on the table when my scumbag father, stepmother, and their awful daughter Shin Qingxiu came downstairs. Shin Qingxiu immediately started picking on me. Shin Yinxin, you're so lazy. The cook isn't here today, and all you made is porridge. But then she caught the rich, meaty smell drifting from the pot. She sniffed hard, and her tone flipped to accusing me instead. You sneaky little thief. I can smell beef. Did you eat all the beef yourself and leave us plain porridge? I rolled my eyes. She was always the first one to bully the original me. I didn't steal any beef, I said. The cook bought beef bones. I spent all morning making beef bone broth, century egg, and pork porridge for you people. She didn't believe me, but when she looked in the pot and saw chunks of meat floating in that fragrant broth, she couldn't resist. She grabbed a bowl immediately. Of course, the first bowl went straight to my father's hands. Sucking up to her stepfather was the most important thing in her world. Dad, you must be hungry after sleeping all night. Drink up. I watched her batting her eyelashes at the old man and nearly gagged. I turned to leave. Ever since the stepmother moved in, the original me lost the right to eat at the same table as the family. But Shun Yaizu stopped me. Shun Yinxin, get back here. You almost broke my leg. I'm going to beat you to death. I clenched my fists. I wanted so badly to punch him. I wished I had actually practiced the self-defense moves Lu Yunting tried to teach me. I wondered how he was doing at the Lu family's house. I needed him to come help me beat up these 2 useless brothers. My father at least frowned when he heard his own son call his daughter a bastard. The stepmother Li Chunhung noticed his expression and quickly signaled her sons to back off. Shun Yaonan grabbed his brother and said, Fine, let's eat first. We'll deal with her after breakfast. So the 5 of them sat down and ate. They devoured the porridge and didn't even leave a single pickle behind. I watched them from the kitchen, stuffing their faces, and thinking about what was actually in that porridge made me gag. I ducked into the pocket dimension and made myself a bowl of snail noodles to fight poison with poison. I was happily slurping up the last of my noodles when I finally heard the chaos erupt outside. You little wretch, get out here. What did you feed us? Oh God, my stomach. Dad, are you ever coming out of the bathroom? My father had barely pulled up his pants and stepped out of the toilet before both sons charged in and seized it. but then he needed to go again himself. You brats! Get out and give me the toilet. By then, Shun Qingxiu and Li Chunhong couldn't hold it anymore either. They were squeezing their backsides shut with both hands, but instead it came shooting out of their mouths and splattered all over my father. He lost his mind. He spun around and slapped Shun Qingxiu across the face. Disgusting. Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blurgh. She couldn't even finish her sentence before more came gushing out. Li Chunhong had already lost control completely and messed her pants. Once she felt slightly better, she said, "Sir, we need to go to the hospital. That little wretch definitely poisoned us. We should report her to the police." But my father knew that I was about to take the fall for their whole family's crimes. They couldn't report me to the police right now. They needed me as their scapegoat. His face was terrifyingly dark. "Let's just go to the hospital first. Dad, don't forget us," the brothers called from the bathroom. The 5 of them couldn't even make it out of the house before they'd all completely soiled themselves. But they were past caring. They rushed out. Inside the pocket dimension, I listened until the house went completely silent. When I stepped out, the stench of their mess hit me so hard I nearly threw up even though I was ready for it. I ducked back in, grabbed a face mask, and came back out. I glanced at the dining table. They'd eaten every last drop of porridge. Not even a spoonful left. Good. Now I headed upstairs. This was my chance to clean out the Shun family's fortune. They were planning to sneak onto a boat tomorrow night and flee to Hong Kong. The original me didn't know exactly where they hid their valuables, but I figured with their escape so close, they must have gathered everything together by now. I pushed open the door to my father and stepmother's master bedroom. I was right. The room was full of big red wooden chests. I hit the jackpot. I opened the first chest, packed full of silver. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. I swept it into the pocket dimension without a second thought. Next chest, solid gold bars. Into the dimension, a chest of antique porcelain. Into the dimension, a chest of famous calligraphy and paintings. Into the dimension, a chest of gemstones and jade. Into the dimension, then a small black briefcase stuffed with cash. Into the dimension. After I cleared out the most valuable stuff, I looked around the room and thought about those novels where characters strip a place down to bare ground. I wanted to do exactly that. Half an hour later, I walked out of the Shun house buzzing with excitement. I strolled around the neighborhood to calm myself down, then took the 5 smuggling boat tickets that the Shun family had secretly bought and went straight to the nearest police station to report them. The authorities had already caught wind that wealthy capitalist families in Shanghai were hiding their assets and fleeing abroad. Soon there'd be even stricter crackdowns, a better to wrongly catch someone than let anyone escape kind of policy. In the novel, the Shun family escaped with everything, and the original me was left behind to take the blame. This time, I was the one doing the reporting. I wanted all 5 of them arrested, and I wanted to officially sever all family ties. I went to the police first, then next door to the Revolutionary Committee to file another report and apply for family separation document. The committee people were thrilled. They saw me as a patriotic citizen turning in her own family for the greater good. They wrote up my separation document on the spot, stamped it, and even wanted to publish the announcement in the newspaper. Walking out of the committee office with that document in my hands, I was over the moon. Getting free of the capitalist label meant I was truly free now. Then it hit me, Liu Yunting. We transmigrated together, but he still hadn't contacted me. I ducked into the dimension to check. Nobody there. My heart started racing. Could he not enter the dimension unless he was with me? How had I not thought of this sooner? My poor husband. I dug through my memory of the novel and recalled that the Liu and Shin families lived far apart in the city. I started searching for him all over Shanghai, like a madwoman. Meanwhile, the police and the Revolutionary Committee arrived at the Shin house. They went inside the little Western-style building and found it completely emptied out, stripped so clean they might as well have torn the place down to its foundation. The committee people were furious. Did that girl play us? But the police went next door and asked the neighbors. Good news. The Shun family hadn't left yet. The neighbors said the whole family had gotten sick this morning with terrible stomach problems and were probably all at the hospital right now. The committee gave the order. To the hospital. Now, at the hospital, all 5 members of the Shin family were sitting in a row on 4 drips, looking half dead. The police blocked every exit while the committee people marched straight up to Father Shin. "You're Shin Chi-chung, correct?" He opened his eyes, saw the red armbands, and his whole body started shaking so badly he lost control again right in his pants. He didn't even need to be interrogated. His guilty conscience was written all over him. The committee demanded he confess where the family fortune was hidden. He stammered that he didn't know. They fired back. His entire house had been emptied. They had bought tickets proving the family planned to smuggle themselves to Hong Kong tomorrow night. Hiding national wealth and fleeing the country was practically treason. That's when it finally sank in for the Shun family. Their fortune, the money they were counting on for a luxurious life abroad, was gone. Shin Yaizu burst into tears first. "Dad, is all our money really gone? All those jewels and silver and gold bars?" Father Shin jumped up and punched him. "Shut your mouth." Then he whirled around and grabbed the stepmother by her hair. "Was it you? Did you and your family steal everything behind my back?" She sobbed and swore it wasn't her. So he accused her ex-husband's family instead. Father Shin knew he was finished, but he was determined to drag everyone who'd ever benefited from him down too. Sure enough, the committee ordered the police to take the stepmother away for interrogation and to arrest her relatives. Shun Qingxiu cowered in the corner, trembling. She could see right through Father Shun's ruthless scheme. She was doomed too. There was no way out for her now. On the other side of the city, I finally tracked down the Liu family's address, Ho Hot Lane. The neighborhood was huge, but I figured if the Shun family lived in a Western-style house, the Liu family probably did too. Finding a fancy house among rows of shabby homes wasn't hard. The houses even had address plates on their gates. But the Liu family's front gate was locked tight. I had no idea what was happening inside. When darkness fell, there wasn't a sliver of light anywhere. My heart sank. I pulled a flashlight from the dimension and circled the outside of the house until I found a dog hole in the wall. I turned off the flashlight and crawled through. The guard dog was right next to the hole. It started barking furiously. "Who's there?" someone yelled. I slipped into the dimension a split second before Liu Yunhuai's flashlight beam swept over the spot where I'd been standing. He didn't see anyone. He shined the light at the dog and cursed at it. "Stupid mutt. What are you barking at?" He kicked the cage. "Shut up or I'll butcher you." Hearing that the dog was locked in a cage made me feel much better. Lu Guanshan, the father, told everyone to stop messing with the dog. They had bigger things to worry about. Then a baby started crying. The eldest son, Lu Yunchuan, suggested they all go inside to wait since the yard was full of mosquitoes and they still had 4 hours before departure. The boxes could stay in the yard. The dog would guard them. His wife agreed, saying the mosquitoes were eating the baby alive. Lu Guanshan, the head of the Liu family, sighed and said the times were dangerous. Many people in Shanghai had already been arrested. I hid inside the pocket dimension, listening to them chat while preparing a piece of poison raw meat to feed to the guard dog in the cage. A baby started crying again, squirming in a woman's arms. The mother, Zhou Manji, was fed up with mosquito bites and told everyone to go back inside. She said if her husband wanted to stay out here guarding things and feeding mosquitoes, he could do it alone. Lu Yunhuai asked if he should let the dog loose. Lu Guanshan snapped at him. "Absolutely not. If that stupid animal bit the important guests coming to pick them up tonight, who is going to apologize?" Now I understood everything. The Liu family was planning to escape with all their wealth tonight. They only had 4 hours before departure. The transmigrated Liu Yenting definitely wasn't among them. According to the novel's plot, he was the one left behind to take all the blame. Were they keeping him locked up somewhere? I slipped out of the dimension and tossed the poison meat into the dog cage. The dog barked like crazy, which brought Lu Yunhuai over again. He cursed at the dog and threatened to kill it. I waited inside the dimension, listening to the dog chewing on the meat. I let out a breath of relief. 20 minutes later, the yard went quiet again. I stepped out of the dimension. The guard dog was dead. I crept through the darkness toward the boxes stacked in the yard and silently moved them into the pocket dimension. But there was still an old man standing out there, so I couldn't get everything. The remaining boxes made my heart ache. I decided to sneak into the Liu family's house first to find Liu Yunting. Just then, someone called from inside. Guanshan, Xiaoying made egg noodles. Everyone's eating, come in and have some. Liu Guanshan stood in the yard a while longer, then finally went inside. I couldn't believe my luck. I immediately grabbed all the remaining boxes and swept them into the dimension. Once the boxes were gone, I snuck up to the front door and screamed, "Help! Thieves!" The Liu family panicked like frightened birds and came stampeding outside. The moment they ran out, I slipped inside the house from the dimension. The problem was, I didn't know which room Liu Yunting was in. Maybe he was treated the same as me in the Shun household, stuck in a storage room near the kitchen? There really was a thief. HHH. My money. Heaven help us. Our treasures. They're gone. The Liu family went absolutely insane, screaming and crying in the yard. It was so noisy. Inside one of the locked rooms, the transmigrated Liu Yunting had finally broken free from whatever was holding him down and opened his eyes. But his body was weak and limp. The original owner had been drugged with some kind of sedative. He knew he'd been asleep for a long time and was terrified about what might be happening to me at the Shen house. If they treated the original Shen Yunxin the same way his family treated him, we'd both be in deep trouble. He dragged himself to the door and pulled it open and froze. Wife. Husband. I was so happy I almost cried. I'd guessed right, they put him in the storage room. Out of habit, I jumped at him to hug him. But I didn't realize his drugged body had no strength at all. We both crashed to the floor with a loud thud, knocking over a table in the process. Liu Yunting was weak and his back slammed into the corner of the table, but even in pain, he made himself into a cushion to protect me from the fall. The noise got the Liu family's attention. Those thieves are inside the house now. Liu Yunhui charged in first like a madman. I grabbed Liu Yunting and pulled him into the pocket dimension just in time. I'll find you thieves. You took everything we had. Liu Yunhui followed the sound and found the storage room door wide open. Liu Yunting was gone. He screamed, "Dad." The thieves took second brother too. The whole family rushed in. Liu Guanshan cursed. That cursed son. He's been bad luck since birth. He must have been working with the thieves to get revenge on us, his mother wailed. That evil boy. He's going to ruin our whole family. We should have drowned him in a bucket when he was born. Inside the dimension, Liu Yunting explained to me using the original owner's memories. Those two cursing him are his real father and real mother. When he was little, a fortune teller said he brought bad luck to the Liu family. After that, his parents started tormenting him, starving him, making him do the dirtiest and hardest work. He grew up wanting revenge, but before he got the chance, they drugged him. He slept through everything while they emptied the house and smuggled themselves to Hong Kong. When he woke up, the neighbors reported him, and the police and the Revolutionary Committee came and arrested him. I handed him a cup of spiritual spring water. Drink this first. I already moved all the Liu family's treasure into our dimension. They had twice as much as the Shin family. Honey, we can get ready to go to the countryside now and come back after the reform and opening up period starts. According to the novel's timeline, it was 1968. The cities were entering a phase of harsh crackdowns on capitalist families. People like us with that kind of background were in a sensitive position. It was much safer to go to the countryside where nobody knew us. Liu Yunting nodded, but after drinking the spring water, his body started giving off that same horrible stench. Go take a shower, quick, I told him. While he washed up, I went to the kitchen and made him a bowl of instant noodles with a fried egg on top. He came out of the bathroom wearing his own clothes, drying his hair. After eating that hot meal, he finally looked alive again, like this new body had truly come back to life. I went outside and searched through the things I'd taken from the Liu family. Sure enough, in one of the luggage cases, I found their boat tickets, the ones they were going to use tonight to smuggle themselves to Hong Kong. The Liu family was planning to leave in 2 hours, I told him. If we go report them to the police and the Revolutionary Committee right now, you should be able to trade this information for a formal document cutting family ties. Having that paperwork would make things a lot safer for us. Liu Yunting could feel the deep hatred the original owner of this body had for the Liu family. He was eager to make them pay. He stood up immediately. I'm going right now. We can't let them escape. Then he looked at me with concern. What's your situation at the Shen house? Did they hurt you? Did they bully you? I told him everything. It's pretty much the same as yours. I was their punching bag too. This morning when I first transmigrated, they bullied me so bad, I wanted you to come beat them up. But then I had a flash of inspiration and dumped a whole packet of laxatives into their breakfast congee. Once they were all knocked out running to the bathroom, I cleaned out the entire house and then reported them to the police station and the Revolutionary Committee. The committee even rewarded me with an official document cutting family ties. By now the whole Shin family has probably been arrested. He reached up and pinched my cheek with that spoiling look he always gives me. My wife is so smart. It's too late now, so wait for me here in the dimension. I'm going out to deal with the Liu family and get revenge for the original owner. I held his hand tight. Be careful. If anything gets dangerous, come back into the dimension. Don't make me worry. I spent all day today not knowing where you were, and I almost went crazy. He kissed my forehead. Relax. I'm me now, not the original owner. I'm not that easy to trick. He was right. In our real life, calling my husband a 10-in-1 expert wouldn't even be an exaggeration. After graduating from the police academy, his scores were so outstanding they assigned him to the armed police for 2 years. He only transferred to become a regular officer because I couldn't stand us living in different cities. Even as a regular cop, he earned 3 independent first-class merit awards for bravery. He stepped out of the dimension. I could hear the Liu family in the next room. Some crying, some fighting. The hot-tempered third brother, Liu Yunhui, had actually gotten into a fistfight with the eldest, Liu Yunchuan. Liu Yunhui was blaming everyone. The eldest brother for insisting they come inside because the baby got mosquito bites, the sister-in-law for making egg noodles and calling their father in to eat. Now everything's been stolen and we didn't even see the thieves' faces. Liu Yunchuan fired back, telling him to go find the second brother instead of picking fights here. Their father had already said it was definitely the second son working with outside thieves. Liu Guanshan roared at them to stop fighting and ordered them to go report to the police and have the second son arrested. But Liu Yunchuan pointed out the problem. If they told the police about all the hidden treasure, the family would be in just as much trouble. He suggested they scrape together money for new boat tickets and leave tonight as planned. Liu Yunhui snapped back that they could barely afford tickets, let alone survive in Hong Kong as beggars. Then Liu Guanshan told the third son to go to the police station alone and report the second brother. Liu Yunhui hesitated at the door and turned back nervously. Dad, you wouldn't abandon me the way you abandoned second brother, right? Maybe big brother should come with me. Liu Guanshan threw a tea mug at him and told him to get lost. Liu Yunchuan reminded him the police station was just 1 street away and there was plenty of time before their pickup. Liu Yunhui put on a grin for his father. Don't worry, Dad. I'll go handle second brother right now. See? I'm still your most loyal son. Liu Yunchuan and his wife both rolled their eyes. My husband was about to follow Liu Yunhui out when he overheard something that made him stop. Liu Guanshan said to the eldest son, if they didn't bring the third son along, the money they had left after buying new tickets would at least keep the family from starving in Hong Kong. Then he asked if Liu Yunchuan could really find his old classmate there. Liu Yunchuan was only surprised for a second before remembering that he'd studied abroad and was the most useful one to the family. He reassured his father he could find work in Hong Kong and added that conditions in the country would only get worse. People with their background would eventually be dragged out for public shaming. Liu Yunting told me later he smiled bitterly at that moment. Now, he finally understood why the authorities cracked down on capitalist families, because deep in their bones, these people really did love sorting everyone into ranks of high and low. He jumped out a window into the darkness, climbed over the wall, and chased Liu Yunhui all the way to the police station entrance. He found the third brother standing in the street, trying to think up an excuse to report to the police. This nasty third son had bullied the original Liu Yunting constantly. They'd even named the family's vicious guard dog, Ah Ting, the same as his name, just to humiliate him. Liu Yunting crept up silently, shoved a rag into the guy's mouth, and beat him with fists like a rainstorm. He didn't stop until the man passed out completely. Then he broke one of his legs and dragged him into a nearby alley. After that, he took the Liu family's smuggling boat tickets and walked into the police station. The police immediately sent officers to the Liu house to arrest everyone. Unfortunately, the Revolutionary Committee office was closed for the night, but the police station chief took a liking to my husband. He patted Liu Yunting's shoulder and promised, "Don't worry. You wanting to cut ties with your family is completely understandable. Come back tomorrow, and I'll take you to speak with the Revolutionary Committee myself." Liu Yunting, wearing the original owner's young face, not even 20 years old, said with complete sincerity, "Thank you, officer." The chief watched him leave, feeling strangely impressed by this young man's presence. Something about him seemed special. Before coming back, Liu Yunting made one last stop. He went to the alley, hauled the unconscious Liu Yunhui onto his shoulders, and dumped him at the Liu family's front door. The boat tickets he'd turned in included this guy's ticket too, so when the family got arrested, this one absolutely could not be left out. Luckily, the police arrived just in time. They caught the Liu family right in their yard, carrying bundles on their backs, ready to run. "Liu Guanshan, where exactly is your family going in the middle of the night?" The four of them nearly wet themselves when they came face to face with the officers. The baby in someone's arms started screaming its lungs out. Liu Yunting's mother blurted out stupidly, "Oh, officers, why are you here?" The father quickly pulled her behind him and put on a fake smile. He said they were just going to visit relatives and needed to catch a train. Then he sidled up to the lead officer and tried to secretly slip him something from his sleeve. "You stinking capitalists never change. Now you're trying to corrupt me too." The officer was a straight arrow type. He pulled the object out for everyone to see. It was a small gold bar. "I think you're trying to smuggle yourselves to Hong Kong tonight, taking the people's property out of the country to betray our nation." He ordered his men to search their bundles. The Liu family panicked completely. Liu Yunchuan tried to run, but two officers tackled him to the ground and gave him a solid beating. The mother sat on the ground wailing, cursing her second son again, calling him a murderous, unfilial wretch, and saying she should have drowned him at birth. Liu Yunting told me he stood in the shadows watching all this with a cold smile. Then the unconscious Liu Yunhui started showing signs of waking up. Liu Yunting shoved him right into the scene and slipped into the pocket dimension in a flash. The lead officer spotted Liu Yunhui on the ground. "So that's where the missing name on the boat tickets went. It was you all along." Liu Yunhui had no idea what was happening. He lifted his head and tried to file a complaint. "Officers, someone attacked me. I think it was my second brother." Then he saw the whole family lined up, their bundles ripped open. He figured it out instantly. That seed of suspicion he'd always carried bloomed right there.
"Dad, Mom,
Big brother, you were all lying to me. You said you'd never leave me behind. You all deserve this. Every bit of it." His mother immediately tried to guilt-trip him. "You're an ungrateful wretch too." But Liu Yunhui wasn't the type to fall for that. "Yeah, Mom, I am. But were you ever good parents? I saw everything you did to second brother growing up. He was unlucky. Fine, you abandoned him, but I knew you'd do the same to me, and you actually did it." He tried to lunge at his parents, but discovered one of his legs wouldn't move. He broke down crying, begging the police to save him and arrest his second brother. The lead officer just walked over and cuffed his hands. "Shut up. Your name is on those smuggling tickets too, you rotten traitor. If I were your second brother, I'd have broken both your legs." Inside the dimension, Liu Yunting heard the police finish searching the Liu house and haul the entire family away. He was about to come back to me when he suddenly realized something serious. When he'd reported the family, he'd mentioned that 2 smuggling contacts were coming to pick them up. But the police had only taken the Liu family and left nobody behind to wait for the contacts. His professional instincts kicked in. He went back to the Liu house, closed the front gate, and stood behind it. About 15 minutes later, 2 knocks came at the door. He opened it and found 2 shady-looking men. "Liu family?" one asked. "Yes," Liu Yunting said. "Well, aren't you going to Hong Kong by boat tonight? Hurry up and bring out your stuff. Let's move." "Is it just you 2? We have a lot of things. I might need your people to help carry. I can pay extra." Hearing about extra money, their attitude brightened right up. They said it was just the 2 of them with a horse cart outside, and that their rates for helping would be steep. That was all Liu Yunting needed to hear. He dropped the act, moved lightning fast, and took both men down. To make sure they couldn't cause trouble, he broke all 4 of their wrists, tied them up with rope, and hauled them to the police station. He arrived just as the officers were getting back with the arrested Liu family. Perfect timing. "Who are you?" an officer asked. "I'm here to report something." These 2 are the contacts who are supposed to take the Liu family to the docks. The lead officer understood immediately. This was a chance to catch even bigger fish. If they could take down the entire underground smuggling ring operating in Shanghai, everyone at the station could get promoted and earn serious rewards. "Thank you, comrade. I'll report to the chief right away so we can send people to the docks," Liu Yunting reminded him. "Time's running out. Move fast." The officer gave him an enthusiastic thumbs up. Inside the station, the chief was thrilled. He immediately called for backup from police forces across all of Shanghai. Liu Yunting watched the massive operation mobilize and his hands itched to go help. That cop instinct never dies. But he reminded himself that in 1968, he was just an ordinary young man named Liu Yunting. If his real abilities were exposed and he couldn't explain them, he might be treated as an enemy spy. And he didn't want me to worry. So he turned around, walked back into the darkness, and returned to the Liu house. "Honey, you're finally back." I'd been waiting in the pocket dimension and came out through the Liu family's house the moment I heard him. I threw myself at him, and this time he caught me perfectly in his arms. "You were gone so long." I was worried sick. "What happened with the Liu family?" He held me, kicked the courtyard gate shut, kissed my forehead, and told me everything that happened after he left the dimension. When I heard he'd managed to help the police catch a whole ring of criminals, my eyes lit up. "You're amazing." He just smiled and said it was professional instinct, no big deal. He told me not to worry, and that once he got his family separation document tomorrow, we'd sign up to go to the countryside. Hearing him mention his career made me stop and think. I held his face in my hands. "I remember when you were young, and I said men in uniforms look really handsome, and that's why you went to police academy. After you graduated, you got assigned to the armed police for 2 years, but then I complained about the long distance, so you transferred to be a regular cop in the capital. You actually loved being a police officer, didn't you? But when I said we were going to transmigrate, you followed me here without a second thought. Don't you ever regret it?" He laughed. "You ungrateful little thing. Remember when we were 4 years old in the orphanage, and you yelled at me for being a tagalong? I think I got used to following you around from that moment on. I want to be with you always. Whatever you want to do, I'll be right there with you. When I said I want to be your husband for the next life and the life after that, did you think I was joking?" I couldn't believe he remembered something from when we were 4 so clearly. I was about to say his memory was impressive, but I held it back. Instead, I decided to one-up him. "You're the ungrateful one. Of course I remember everything you've done for me. We'll be husband and wife for the next life and every life after." Then I leaned in and kissed him. The next morning, I lay in bed with my whole body sore and achy. The smell of food cooking pulled me awake. I opened my eyes just as Liu Yunting walked in through the bedroom door. "Good morning, husband." Even though he'd worn me out last night and my body still ached, one look at that handsome, familiar face and everything felt sweet. "Good morning, wife." He brought me a cup of spiritual spring water to drink first, then helped me put on the new clothes he'd prepared. The colors were dull and gray. I really didn't like them, but we were in the 1960s now, and couldn't wear our modern clothes anymore. He saw me pouting and immediately understood. He scooped me up off the bed, kissed my cheek, and said, "We're having your favorite for breakfast, braised fatty intestine noodles with as much intestine as you want, plus pork sauce soup dumplings that I stuffed and wrapped myself." That finally made me smile. I gave him a big kiss on the cheek as a reward. If you hadn't come with me, I would never have come here alone. After our happy breakfast in the dimension, we split up for the day. Liu Yunting was heading to the police station to meet the chief and go to the Revolutionary Committee for his family separation document. Since we'd already cleaned out the Liu family's fortune, he figured he'd probably have to give up the Liu family's house to make the deal work. Meanwhile, I took both our household registration booklets to the neighborhood office to arrange our transfer to the countryside. On his way to the station, Liu Yunting stopped at a shop to buy some gifts. He picked out what he wanted and got in line to pay, then suddenly realized he had no ration coupons. Not a single one. Both the Shun and Lu families had been planning to flee to Hong Kong, where mainland coupons were useless, so naturally there were none among the things we'd taken. He quietly put everything back on the shelves. But showing up empty-handed to ask for favors wasn't going to work. He ducked into an empty alley, entered the dimension, and grabbed some of the brown sugar we'd stockpiled from the modern world. Sugar was a precious commodity in this era. He wrapped it neatly in oil paper. He made a mental note to find the black market and trade for some ration coupons as soon as possible. I ran into the same problem out on the street. You couldn't buy anything without coupons. I told myself we'd figure out the coupon situation together when we met up later. When Lu Yunting arrived at the police station, everyone there was practically glowing with happiness. He asked around and learned that last night's operation was a huge success. The Shanghai police had arrested a massive group of smugglers and destroyed a whole criminal operation. Our local station had earned the top merit for the entire case. Knowing the criminals had all been caught made him feel genuinely proud inside. The squad leader from last night, Li Tao, came out of a meeting room and spotted him right away. He rushed over excitedly with his tea mug. "Comrade Lu, you're the real hero of our station." Lu Yunting stood up with that young, innocent-looking face and greeted him with a smile. A junior officer mentioned that he was here to see Station Chief Wang. Li Tao noticed the gift packages in Lu Yunting's hands and immediately understood what was going on. He went back into the meeting room and brought Chief Wang out. The chief had been running a wrap-up meeting about the big case. The moment he heard Lu Yunting was here, he came right out and brought him to his office. He showered Lu Yunting with praise. Last night's case was going to guarantee him a promotion this year. "Comrade Lu, I was thinking you could." The chief wanted to offer Lu Yunting a position at the station, but suddenly the words wouldn't come out. No matter how hard he tried, it was like his throat was stuck. He grabbed a pen to write it down instead, but the moment he picked up the pen, a sharp pain stabbed through his chest. He immediately dropped the pen and changed his mind. The pain went away. Lu Yunting noticed the chief's strange behavior but was smart enough not to ask. He simply pulled out a package of brown sugar and placed it on the desk. At the station, Lu Yunting placed the brown sugar on the desk and said, "Chief Wang, I saved the sugar over the years doing odd jobs for people. I was unlucky from birth. A fortune teller said I was a curse on the Lu family, so they never spent a cent on me. Now that they've been arrested, all I want is to officially cut ties with them." Chief Wang pushed the sugar back. "I already had people look into what kind of life you had in that family. But listen, don't go around telling people about that fortune-telling business. Not in times like these. I promised to help you last night, and I will. This sugar is good stuff, though. Let me bring it to the Revolutionary Committee people for you. Getting your family separation document won't be a problem." Lu Yunting sensed the man's genuine kindness. He pulled out the property deed for the Lu family's house and handed it over to Uncle Wang. "I'm willing to give up the Lu house for free. Consider it compensation for my family's crimes." The chief was truly impressed. But he still seemed a little disappointed about the strange thing that had happened earlier when he tried to offer Lu Yunting a job and physically couldn't get the words out. Then he casually asked where Lu Yunting planned to live and whether he'd found work. Lu Yunting said he intended to go to the countryside and contribute to building rural China, that someone with his background would be honored to serve the country's needs. The chief immediately dropped his secret plan to marry his daughter to this impressive young man. You couldn't send a daughter off to the countryside. He took Lu Yunting to the Revolutionary Committee next door. The sugar and the house deed went in, and the family separation document came out. Meanwhile, I discovered something strange at the neighborhood office. When I asked about different countryside locations, the clerk shuffled through papers and then looked up with a constipated expression, telling me there was only one option: the Shangjing Commune, Xiangshang Brigade in the Eastern Province. That was the exact place from the novel. The place where all the story's events happen. The same place the original Shen Yunxin and Lu Yunting were sent to in the book. I chose to comfort myself with the fact that it was also where the male and female lead story took place. Besides, before we transmigrated, the system had asked for a 5-star review. Surely, that meant we were supposed to have a good experience here. I gave myself a pep talk. We had the Shun family fortune, the Lu family fortune, and a pocket dimension with spiritual spring water. There was no way we'd have a bad life. I walked out of the office, looked up at the crystal blue sky, took a deep breath of incredibly fresh air, and felt my confidence grow even stronger. We had 10 days before leaving for the countryside. The problem was, where would we live until then? The Shun house was seized, and the Liu house had been given away. I met Liu Yunting at the state-run restaurant as we'd planned that morning. When I walked in, he'd already ordered all my favorite dishes. There was a plate of sweet and sour ribs waiting for me. "Where did you get ration coupons to buy food?" I asked, amazed. He put a rib in my bowl and said he'd gone to the machinery factory's family housing area and traded brown sugar and white flour for coupons. Of course. I'd read so many novels about this era. How did I forget that? I happily gnawed on a rib. "Did you get the separation document?" "Got it. We have 10 days until we leave. We can't go back to either family's house." "Where do we stay?" I asked Chief Wang for help. He wrote us a letter of introduction so we can stay at the government guest house. I looked at him with pure admiration. He loves it when I look at him like that. He smiled his spoiling smile. "Don't worry. Over the next few days, I'll find the black market and trade for nationally valid ration coupons. We'll be fine going to the countryside." After lunch, we went to the guest house, but they told us we couldn't share a room without a marriage certificate. I was shocked. I pulled him outside. "Let's go register for marriage right now." He shook his head. "You're over 18, but I'm still a few months short of 20. We can't get a marriage certificate yet." "Then what do we do?" "You check in alone. I'll wait below your window outside. When you see the coast is clear, signal me, and I'll go into the dimension." I nodded. It was the only option. I went back inside and checked in. My room was on the second floor. I walked in, shut the door, opened the window, and there he was, standing in exactly the right spot below. I looked around, gave him an okay sign, and we both entered the pocket dimension at the same time. I took a huge breath of fresh air to flush out the moldy stench from that guest house room. The place was dark, filthy, and reeked. Without the dimension, I would have seriously regretted coming here. Liu Yunting brought me a glass of spring water. "Drink this first." After I drank it, I told him about the weird thing at the neighborhood office, how there was mysteriously only one option for where we could go. He told me about his own strange experience, how Chief Wang physically couldn't say what he wanted to say and got chest pains when he tried to write it down. I put it all together. So even though we transmigrated here, we're still being controlled by the novel's plot. Liu Yunting took it in stride. We were planning to go to the countryside anyway. Almost everything in the novel happens at the Xiangshan Brigade in the Eastern Province. We already know all the people and events there. Having that kind of advanced knowledge is actually an advantage. Men and women really do think differently. I'd been afraid that our fate as cannon fodder side characters would repeat itself. But Liu Yunting saw it from the opposite angle. We had the power of knowing the future. Even if we ran into the vicious side characters from the novel, we'd be fine. We knew everything that was coming. Liu Yunting came up behind me and wrapped his arms around me. "Guess why I came here with you?" I looked up at him. "To protect you." "Smooth talker," I said, reaching up to pinch his lips. He squeezed my waist playfully, lifted me up, and kissed me to shut me up. "You're going to have to prove whether I'm just talk." He tossed me onto the big bed and well. He was not even 20 in this body with all the energy that comes with that. My body was only 18. It was honestly kind of wild. Back in our real lives at this age, the most we'd ever done was kiss. Our actual first time wasn't until the night we graduated college. If you gave Liu Yunting another chance at being this young, there was no holding him back. But my 18-year-old body was still too thin and weak for all that. Afterward, I grabbed his ear and drifted off to sleep, an old habit of mine. Liu Yunting gently removed my fingers, fed me a cup of spring water, drank one himself, then went and killed a chicken to make me soup with the spiritual spring water. He was determined to fatten me up with his own hands. He put the soup in a clay pot to simmer on low heat, then went to the villa's gym and worked out for 2 hours. He said he needed to get his 8-pack abs back because I love them so much. By the time I woke up and pulled back the curtains, I could see him out on the black soil driving the seeding machine, planting wheat. It was probably his first time farming, but he looked like he knew what he was doing. I wanted to help, But when I ran downstairs, I smelled the chicken soup in the kitchen and saw the tray of freshly wrapped wontons. I knew right away what dinner was going to be, my favorite chicken soup wontons. I started boiling water to cook them. That evening, Lu Yunting planned to take rice, flour, and eggs from our stockpile to the factory housing areas the next day to trade for more ration coupons. The next morning we split up and went to different factories. After a full morning of trading, we hadn't gotten much. Ration coupons were strictly limited, and normal families barely had any to spare. We didn't encounter any secretly wealthy households like in the novels. So that afternoon, Lu Yunting went out to find the black market. It wasn't as easy as the novels made it sound. Black markets moved around constantly to avoid getting raided. It took him 3 days to finally track one down. It was operating in Huayin Alley. That night, he went alone to test the waters. He wouldn't let me go. Too dangerous. He walked around the market first and noticed people selling fruit, vegetables, and small goods, but nobody was selling grain. So he deliberately set out a sack of premium fine-grain rice. In an era when most people couldn't eat their fill, the crowd swarmed him immediately. Business was so good that it caught the attention of the people who ran the black market. Groups of men came by over the next few days to watch him, but didn't approach. On the 4th day, as soon as he set out 2 bags of rice, several men walked over and shooed away the regular customers. "Brother, how much rice and flour do you actually have? Our boss wants to buy everything and work with you." Lu Yunting said he wanted ration coupons in exchange. "No problem. Our boss has every kind of coupon you could want." Lu Yunting's ears as a cop told him he caught a dangerous glint in their eyes. But he wasn't going in unprepared. If they tried to rob him, they'd find out who was really getting eaten. He followed them to a compound, carrying 2 sacks of rice. They told him to wait in the yard. Soon a man with a scar across his face came out carrying a small suitcase. He opened it and flashed it in front of Lu Yunting. It was packed with every type of ration coupon. "I hear you want coupons. These are just a fraction of what I have. Sell me all your grain, and you can have whatever coupons you want." Lu Yunting stepped closer to inspect them, but Scarface snapped the suitcase shut. "I run this entire black market. My coupons aren't fake. But first I need to check your grain." Lu Yunting stepped aside and let them look. Scarface had never seen rice this perfectly husked with such beautiful color. Top quality stuff. He stood up and looked at Lu Yunting. "How much more do you have?" 2,000 jin of rice. "Only 500 jin of flour left." Scarface laughed. "I'll take all of it." Then he held out his hand and offered a price way below market value. Lu Yunting frowned. The thugs around him pulled out small knives. "Kid, take the deal and be grateful. You think running a black market is easy? Walking around with that much grain isn't safe for you either. We're giving you a nice, convenient way to sell. Don't be stupid." Lu Yunting said calmly. "Fine. I agree to the deal." Scarface grinned and clapped him on the shoulder. "Smart kid. Now tell me, where are you keeping the rest of the grain? Who's guarding it?" Lu Yunting gave him a fake address far from here and said it was just his mother and sister at home. Scarface's expression immediately brightened. Scarface was clearly planning to steal the grain and do worse. He wanted everything, including the mother and sister Lu Yunting had mentioned. "Boys, take good care of our guest here," he said with a slimy grin. "Young comrade, just wait patiently. Once my men help you bring back the grain, we'll settle up." Then he left with 4 of his thugs. 2 men stayed to guard Lu Yunting. The one who'd taken the coupon suitcase back inside came out again, and this time 4 more guys appeared behind him, each holding a wooden club. The 2 guards grabbed Lu Yunting's shoulders and forced him onto a stool. The guys smiled. "Just sit tight. Our boss said to take good care of you, and that's exactly what we'll do." Lu Yunting gave them a look of pure contempt. "Are you sure you want to play this game with me?" The guy warned him not to question their character, threatening to get rough. Lu Yunting sat on the stool and casually beckoned the man closer with one finger. The idiot actually leaned in. Bang! Lu Yunting ripped out the stool and smashed it right into his head. 4 clubs swung at his face. He turned and ran, burst out of the yard, and slipped into the pocket dimension. The 6 thugs chased out after him. "Where'd he go?" Someone pointed in a random direction. "Get him!" Split into 3 groups. Beat him to death. When you find him, the moment they scattered, Lu Yunting stepped out of the dimension, walked right back into the yard, and shut the gate behind him. He tore through every room, grabbing anything valuable and throwing it into the pocket dimension. Inside the dimension, I was sitting outside our villa when things started falling from the sky. Malted milk powder, brown sugar, rice, flour, powdered milk, all kinds of stuff raining down onto the open ground. I figured Lu Yunting must be loading things in from somewhere. He finally found the coupon suitcase. He opened it to check, and only the top layer had real coupons. Everything underneath was blank white paper. Who knows how many people these crooks had cheated? Lu Yunting decided to clean them out completely. Once he'd taken everything, he heard the 6 thugs returning. He walked through the yard and climbed over the wall to leave. Meanwhile, Scarface and his men arrived at the fake address Lu Yunting had given, only to find an empty, crumbling ruin. He felt like he'd been struck by lightning. The hunter had become the prey. He screamed at his boys to run back. Lu Yunting jogged back to the guest house easily. He stood in his usual spot by the wall and entered the dimension. I was sitting on the grass counting small gold bars. I looked up when he appeared. Don't tell me you couldn't get coupons, so you just went out and robbed someone. Pretty much. He told me what happened at the black market, then headed to the shower. When he came out, I was sitting on the living room carpet sorting through the coupons. He sat down behind me and pulled me into his arms. There aren't a ton of coupons, but it should be enough for us. I nodded. Let's go shopping tomorrow. We leave for the countryside the day after. We couldn't use our modern supplies openly. Once we got to the countryside with so many eyes around, anything we ate or used in public had to be from this era. We'd need to buy period-appropriate things. I kissed his cheek. My husband is incredible. I'd been sure we wouldn't get enough coupons before going to the countryside. I never imagined we'd get them this way. Your husband has something even more incredible. Let me show you. He scooped me up and carried me upstairs to the bedroom. We had another wild night, the perks of young, energetic bodies. I felt exhausted, but blissfully happy. The best part was I didn't have to worry about dragging myself out of bed for work anymore. And Lu Yunting didn't have to rush off to overtime or night shifts either. We could do whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. The next morning we slept in each other's arms until late. We combined breakfast and lunch into one meal, then went shopping. We bought snow cream, yellow rubber shoes, gloves, fabric, and cigarettes and liquor from this era. We'd need those for bribing people in the countryside. We also found 2 watch coupons among the stuff from the black market boss, so we bought a matching pair of watches. They looked quite stylish on our wrists. That evening we ate at the state-run restaurant. After filling up, we ordered 10 portions each of the 3 meat dishes available that day, packed them up for eating on the train. The next morning, Lu Yunting and I each grabbed a big bulging bag and took the bus to the train station. The bags looked stuffed full, but they were actually almost empty, just a cotton quilt inside. The bags were really just cover, so we could secretly pull things out of the pocket dimension and pretend they came from the bag. The train station was absolutely packed with people. Luckily, Lu Yunting was tall and powerful. He stood out in the crowd like a crane among chickens. He kept one arm around me, creating a little protected bubble in all that chaos. We finally squeezed onto the train. Right at the car door, people were screaming about pickpockets and stolen luggage. Some tried to chase the thieves off the train and ended up jumping out windows.
It was total madness.
Lu Yunting stayed like an iron wall around me the entire time. I could hear the commotion, but nothing touched me. Once we made it past the doorway and into the car, things calmed down a bit. Almost everyone in our car was a young, educated person heading to the countryside. I looked up and almost instantly recognized the female lead from the novel. She was the most beautiful person there, cool and aloof, sitting unnaturally still by the window. Her skin was impossibly perfect compared to everyone else. Of course it was. She also had her own pocket dimension with spiritual spring water. On top of that, she was a water element ability user from a post-apocalyptic world. Lu Yunting guided me through the car to find seats. Here, Yunshin, you take the inside. I snapped out of my thoughts and realized we were sitting directly across from the novel's female lead. I couldn't believe it. Lu Yunting didn't think much of it. He got me settled, put our luggage away, and sat down holding my hand. The female lead, Yi Miao Miao, looked up at us. I could tell she was studying us, this well-matched couple sitting right in front of her. From what I knew from the novel, Yi Miao Miao was actually a powerful water element ability user from a post-apocalyptic world. She'd followed a loyal male servant of hers who died and reincarnated into this timeline, specifically into the Xiangshan Brigade in the Eastern Province. That's why she was going to the countryside. She'd also cleaned out the family that had been bullying the original owner of her body, just like we did. The car was stuffy and hot. Lu Yunting pulled out a military canteen and handed it to me. Drink some water. I took several big gulps of ice-cold spiritual spring water and felt much better. How long is this train ride? He looked at me with that adoring expression. We'll arrive the day after tomorrow in the afternoon. The silence between me and the female lead felt awkward. I didn't want us just staring at each other. That might make her dislike us. So I kept talking to Lu Yunting to ease the tension. What I didn't know was that Yi Miao Miao actually found my little nervous gestures adorable. Then a woman's voice cut in.
Excuse me, comrade. My seat is surrounded by men.
Could I switch with you so I can sit next to your partner? I looked up and immediately saw what was happening. This woman was trying to get the seat next to my husband. Every alarm in my head went off. She was eyeing my man. I decided I'd move to the outside seat to block her. A man who'd been asked to switch politely refused, saying he wanted to stay with his girlfriend. He sat down right next to Lu Yunting. I relaxed. The woman, Li Xiuxiu, complained loudly. You young people are ridiculous. Why are you all so busy dating at your age? Her eyes kept drifting toward Lu Yunting the entire time she talked. The boyfriend, Su Hao, snapped back. How does this dating bother you? Li Xiuxiu sneered at him. You're poor. You're in my way. Su Hao's girlfriend, Li Qingqing, jumped up ready to fight. If you're not poor yourself, why are you heading to the countryside? Maybe your family are capitalists. They nearly came to blows before Su Hao separated them. Then Li Xiuxiu tried to get the seat next to Yi Miao Miao instead, so she could sit across from Lu Yunting. She asked a girl named Deng Yanan to switch. Deng Yanan rolled her eyes. Li Xiuxiu, don't bet your eyelashes at me. I know exactly what you're up to. Why don't you turn around and look? The guy sitting behind you is probably the richest man among all of us going to the countryside. Li Xiuxiu protested that she wasn't shallow, but her body was more honest than her mouth. She immediately turned around and planted herself next to the flashy, well-dressed man behind her. I'd been quietly watching this whole drama, and when people finally started saying names, everything clicked into place. Li Xiuxiu was the bold, man-chasing female educated youth from the novel. Her family hadn't given her any money, so she needed a rich man to survive. In the book, she'd seduced the village accountant's son into abandoning his wife and kids to marry her. When that husband died young, she remarried a skilled hunter bachelor before the man's funeral was even over, and actually ended up living happily. Strange message from the author. But this woman was truly vicious at heart. In the novel, she was the one who talked the evil side character Xing Xiaoya into tormenting the people held in the cowshed to earn political points, which indirectly got both the original me and Lu Yunting killed. Anyone who could threaten our lives was someone I absolutely could not ignore. I shifted my attention to the man sitting next to Li Xiuxiu. According to the novel, he was a human trafficker. In the book, the female lead would see through his scheme and report him to the train police, saving Li Xiuxiu. But Li Xiuxiu wouldn't be grateful at all. She'd actually threatened the female lead not to tell anyone she'd almost been sold. The female lead took her reward money from the police and didn't bother arguing with her. The train started moving. Li Xiuxiu was already clinging to the trafficker's arm, chatting like they were lovers. Two people who'd just met, and she was already hooked. Yi Miao Miao, with her enhanced senses from the apocalyptic world, could hear everything clearly even if she didn't want to. She quickly realized the man was a con artist. Every sweet word making Li Xiuxiu's heart flutter was a lie. He was already planning to make his move on her at the next station stop. I was watching too, waiting. I needed to figure out how to handle this, so that when the female lead stepped in to save Li Xiuxiu, she wouldn't end up with a bad impression of us. Lu Yunting noticed I was tense and put his arm around my shoulder. What's wrong? Are you feeling sick? I figured he hadn't paid attention to the small details when he read the novel, so he had no idea why Li Xiuxiu's presence was dangerous. I wanted to whisper in his ear, but then I remembered the female lead sitting across from us had super sharp hearing from her apocalyptic powers. I hesitated, and Lu Yunting really thought I was feeling unwell. He pulled me into his arms so I could lean on his shoulder. Yi Miao Miao, who'd been secretly watching our sweet couple routine, thought I was embarrassed because she'd been staring. She got up to give us some privacy. Before I could decide whether to follow her, Li Qingqing's mocking voice rang out. Look at you two, hugging and cuddling in front of everyone. Even if you're a couple, you can't just openly ruin public morals like this. How inappropriate. Lu Yunting shot her one icy glare. It was so terrifying that she immediately turned to her boyfriend, Su Hao, and whined, Are you just going to sit there while another man intimidates me? Su Hao glanced over and noticed the expensive watch on Lu Yunting's wrist and the way he carried himself. He was the type who could read a room, and he figured Lu Yunting came from a serious background. He actually turned on Li Qingqing instead. That's enough. Stop making trouble. I didn't see anything. I wasn't surprised. From the novel, I knew Su Hao was a social climber. He and Li Qingqing were a fake couple. Once she stopped paying his expenses in the countryside, he'd dump her and chase the village scorekeeper's daughter. As for Li Qingqing, her sharp tongue would make enemies, and she'd end up being tricked into an old bachelor's bed. She couldn't take the misery and eventually drowned herself in the river. I suddenly realized going to the countryside was actually going to be full of drama between the educated youth and the villagers. Plenty of drama ahead. Li Qingqing was furious that her own boyfriend sided against her. She glared at us, then grabbed Deng Yanan beside her. You saw them hugging in public, right? Tell them. Deng Yanan rolled her eyes and called her out. You're jealous and you want me to help you hurt people? Get away from me. Li Qingqing snapped back. I can't reason with a mannish woman like you. What kind of woman cuts her hair that short? There's clearly something wrong with you. Then she tried to grab Yi Miao Miao. You were sitting right across from them. You must have seen it. Yi Miao Miao pulled her hand away with a look of disgust. I didn't see anything. You're making things up. I was surprised the female lead chose to help us. Our eyes met for the first time, and I gave her a grateful look. She acknowledged it with a small glance and walked away. I was happy. Our energy seemed compatible. That was a good sign. But then Deng Yanan snapped. She grabbed Li Qingqing by her long hair and yelled, What's wrong with short hair? You see my haircut and say I'm twisted? The twisted one here is you. That's right. I stood up and walked over. Time to back her up. I slapped Li Qingqing right across the face. Su Hao tried to step in, but Lu Yunting grabbed his wrist and squeezed. The pain almost made him scream. He looked at Lu Yunting's eyes and quickly shook his head. He wouldn't dare interfere. Li Xiuxiu, who'd been watching, was about to jump in and kick Li Qingqing while she was down. But when she saw me involved, she changed her plan completely. Instead, she stood up and screamed through the car. Train police. Someone's fighting in here. Come quick. 2 officers from the next car came running over. Who's fighting? Li Xiuxiu pointed straight at me. I saw this woman slap that woman for no reason at all. The officer looked at me. Why did you hit her? I gave Li Xiuxiu a cold look first, then answered calmly. Officer, the one actually causing trouble and trying to use you as her weapon is this Li Xiuxiu here. As for why I slapped Li Qingqing, she deserved it. She tried to accuse me and my partner of having an immoral relationship just because we sat close together. She also insulted Comrade Deng Yanan, saying that a woman with short hair must be a twisted person. Is she a mental health expert? Because she sounds like she has a mental problem herself. Deng Yanan jumped right in, nodding at the officers. She's crazy. First she imagined these two were doing something wrong, then she attacked me for my haircut. Officers, please move her to another car. Or kick her off the train. Li Qingqing couldn't believe she was being treated as the villain. She screamed, I'm not crazy. These 2 women attacked me first. I said, have you ever met a crazy person who admits they're crazy? Li Qingqing was on the verge of tears. Su Hao, help. Me, the officer asked. Who's Su Hao? She's my girlfriend. We're both educated youth going to the countryside. Lu Yunting squeezed Su Hao's wrist hard again under the seat. The pain nearly made him cry out. But Su Hao figured that if Lu Yunting dared to do this right in front of the trained police, he must have serious connections. Better to cut his losses. He forced the words out through the pain. Officer. I'm not her boyfriend. Li Xiuxiu couldn't help jumping up. Su Hao, are you insane? You literally told me you two were dating when you boarded. The trafficker sitting next to her panicked. He couldn't let Li Xiuxiu draw too much attention and ruin his plan. He quickly pulled her back down and sweet-talked her. Come on, my little darling, stop playing hero. I'm worried you'll get dragged into trouble. Okay, I'll listen to you. Li Xiuxiu smiled like she'd found true love, completely obedient, her face glowing with happiness. Li Xiuxiu's stupidity reminded Yi Miao Miao of her terrible ex-boyfriend from before the apocalypse. She was so disgusted that she decided not to even bother reporting the trafficker anymore. The trained police had been about to lecture Li Xiuxiu for wasting public resources by calling them over nothing, but when they turned and saw her practically glued to the man next to her, they just gave up. They took Li Qingqing away instead. Li Qingqing couldn't believe she was the only one who got punished. She screamed at Su Hao, I hate you. You spineless, ungrateful coward. Meanwhile, the trafficker checked his expensive watch with a little smile. The next station stop was getting closer. He casually wrapped his arm around Li Xiuxiu's neck and pulled her against him. Two educated youths sitting across from them couldn't take it anymore. Could you two be a little less public about this? The trafficker didn't care at all. Li Xiuxiu looked up and sneered. Did you not see what just happened to Li Qingqing? If you want to complain about public behavior, go find the trained police. Yi Miao Miao had completely given up on saving this woman. I looked at Li Xiuxiu's smug face and could already picture what was coming for her. One problem solved, I was happy. Once we got to the Xiangshang Brigade and dealt with the other dangerous woman, Xing Xiaoya, Lu Yunting, and I could finally relax. I wanted to pop champagne, but instead I reached into our bag and pulled out 2 bottles of soda. I gave one to Yi Miao Miao and one to Deng Yanan. Thank you both for standing up for me. I'd like to treat you to soda. Let's be friends from now on. I'm Xin Yinxin and this is my partner Lu Yunting. We're heading to the Shangjin commune in the eastern province. Yi Miao Miao took the soda first.
Yi Miao Miao.
I'm also going to Shangjin commune. I helped you mainly because you and your partner really do make a beautiful couple. I could tell she genuinely meant it, she wasn't just being polite. I smiled sweetly. We're childhood sweethearts. People have always said we look like a married couple. Deng Yanan took her soda too.
I'm Deng Yanan.
I'm also heading to Shangjin commune. Yi Miao Miao dropped her usual cold attitude and raised her bottle to clink with ours.
Cheers. Cheers, I said.
If we end up in the same production brigade, let's keep looking out for each other. I was mainly testing whether the female lead would agree. She didn't hesitate at all. Yes, let's look out for each other. Deng Yanan said hopefully. I'd be so happy if I actually got assigned with you all. Su Hao sat nervously to the
side.
Soda was expensive, and I was handing it out like nothing. He was terrified that someone like Lu Yunting might hold a grudge over the Li Qingqing incident. But Lu Yunting casually pulled out another bottle and handed it to him. Here, drink up. Su Hao practically fell over himself thanking him.
I'm Su Hao.
I'm also going to Shangjin commune. Let's look out for each other. Lu Yunting just gave him a faint smile and said nothing. He only gave him the soda because the guy had been smart enough to back down earlier. Then someone popped up from behind us.
I'm Wu Huaichun.
I'm also going to Shangjin commune. Let's get to know each other. Can I have a soda too? The smiles instantly disappeared from both my face and Yi Miao Miao's. Deng Yanan turned and said, Do you actually want to make friends, or do you just want free soda? Everyone around us looked over. Wu Huaichun's face turned red. She started to call Deng Yanan a man, but then remembered what happened to Li Qingqing. With 5 of us now allied together, she wisely shut her mouth. Li Xiuxiu also wanted to come over and join in, but her trafficker boyfriend held her back. Xiuxiu, don't bother with them. It's just some soda. When we get off the train, I'll take you to a restaurant for a real meal. She hugged his arm happily. Brother Yaizu, you're the best. The man adjusted his sunglasses and smiled. Deng Yanan knew Li Xiuxiu and looked at her suspiciously. You're not going to the countryside anymore? Aren't you scared your parents will break your legs? Li Xiaoxiao snapped back angrily. Don't be jealous. Brother Yaizu said he'll bring a huge bride price to my family. He's rich enough to pay back the settlement money they gave me for going to the countryside. Unlike you, the oldest daughter raised like a boy, acting tough. When you get to the countryside, you'll have nothing but endless suffering. I felt bad for Deng Yanin. She really was a good person and a devoted older sister. But her family also had a worthless, precious son and a bunch of ungrateful younger sisters. In the novel, her family squeezed her dry. She spent her whole life in the village slaving away for her in-laws while paying off her brother's gambling debts and raising money for her sisters. Shortly after Li Xiaoxiao finished her gloating speech, the train pulled into a station. The trafficker immediately grabbed her hand and rushed toward the exit. Li Xiaoxiao was still acting sweet in front of everyone. Brother Yaizu slowed down. Yi Miao Miao muttered under her breath. What an idiot. I was secretly delighted. For someone who'd helped get the original me killed in the novel, I didn't feel an ounce of sympathy. Lu Yunting had also quietly figured out that the flashy man was suspicious, but since I was happy to watch Li Xiaoxiao walk into her own disaster, he went along with my wishes. 10 minutes later, the train started moving again. Li Xiaoxiao and the trafficker never came back. Some people around us were actually envious, saying Li Xiaoxiao was so lucky to have found a rich man. Then a train attendant came by to check seats and asked, where are the 2 passengers from these seats? Did they not get back on? Deng Yanin told the attendant what happened. One was a female educated youth named Li Xiaoxiao. The other was a rich man none of us knew. He said he'd marry her, and she got off the train with him. This is bad. The experienced attendant smacked her own forehead and took off running through the cars. Deng Yanin whispered to me and Yi Miao Miao, Li Xiaoxiao didn't run into a trafficker, did she? Yi Miao Miao and I exchanged a knowing glance but said nothing. Deng Yanin sighed quietly. I don't even know if I should feel sorry for her. She and I lived in the same factory housing compound. Her family only has her dad working, and her mom's had 7 daughters. If something really happened to her, her family definitely won't bother trying to find her. Half an hour later, 2 trained police rushed over and made an emergency announcement. Educated youth Li Xiaoxiao had been kidnapped by a human trafficker. They immediately gave everyone tips on how to spot and avoid traffickers. After that, the whole car became tense. Everyone was suspicious of everyone else, afraid another trafficker might be among them. The silver lining was that nobody dared cause trouble for the rest of the trip. People barely even chatted. After lunch, I couldn't fight the exhaustion anymore. I gave Yi Miao Miao an apologetic smile, then leaned against Lu Yunting's shoulder and fell asleep. On the 3rd day at noon, the train finally reached the end of the line, Ha City in the eastern province. My butt felt like it wasn't even mine anymore. Thank goodness I'd been drinking spiritual spring water the whole trip. Everything else felt okay at least. All the educated youth heading to the countryside had to transfer to buses going to their different assignments. The 4 of us, me, Lu Yunting, Yi Miao Miao, and Deng Yanin, stuck together. Timid Su Hao trailed closely behind us. On the bus, half the passengers were educated youth and half were regular travelers. Everyone was scattered. Deng Yanin and Yi Miao Miao found separate seats. Lu Yunting pulled some candy from the pocket dimension and traded with someone for the seat next to mine. Su Hao watched Lu Yunting's easy generosity with pure envy. Just before the bus left, Li Qingqing suddenly ran on board. Su Hao immediately ducked his head. She snorted at him and found a seat at the very front. About an hour into the drive, the bus entered a mountainous area. People started getting drowsy. I fell asleep in Lu Yunting's arms. Lu Yunting was about to close his eyes too, when he felt something off about the atmosphere in the bus.
Yi Miao Miao sensed it at the same time.
She opened her eyes to find a small knife pressed against her waist. The woman sitting next to her hissed, "Don't move. Don't scream. Or I'll kill you first." She cursed herself for letting her guard down just because the person beside her was a woman. There was a whole gang of robbers on this bus. A knife like that couldn't actually threaten someone with her powers. She was about to use her water ability when the bus suddenly lost control. Everyone was jolted awake, screaming. The man in the passenger seat was also part of the gang. When he pulled a knife on the driver, the terrified driver jerked the steering wheel and the bus slammed into a big tree. The driver was hurt and taken hostage. Liu Yunting had seen everything happen but was too far away to help the driver. He held me tight during the crash. Neither of us got a scratch. But other passengers were injured from the impact. Once the bus stabilized, Yi Miao Miao instantly overpowered the woman who'd threatened her. But it was too late to stop everything. There were 6 robbers total on the bus. 4 more stood up, and 2 of them had guns. Nobody move. Hand over all your money, and we'll let you live. A big, tough-looking young man tried to fight back. 2 robbers jumped him. One beat him while the other stabbed a knife into his arm. Let this be a lesson. Don't try anything clever. We just want money, not your lives. Liu Yunting could tell these guys weren't that skilled. The real danger was their weapons and the risk of them hurting innocent passengers. I looked at the chaos and whispered, "What's going on?" I don't remember this scene being in the novel. Liu Yunting frowned. Everyone here is real now, not just words on paper anymore. I looked toward the front of the bus. People were already sobbing as the robbers went through their things. I don't have any more money, I swear. This money is for my mother's surgery. Please leave me something. Li Qingqing was being groped by one of the male robbers. She clutched her clothes and cried, "I already gave you everything.
Please stop."
Please. These city girls sure are pretty, one robber said with a disgusting grin. All the female educated youth from the big cities stepped forward. Liu Yunting and Yi Miao Miao both clenched their fists at the same time. One of the men zeroed in on Yi Miao Miao. "Hey there, little beauty, don't look so fierce." He walked over and reached for her face. She grabbed his arm, and with a sickening crack, snapped it clean in half. He screamed. Before anyone could react, she picked the man up and hurled his body at the armed robber standing by the bus door. Liu Yunting moved at the exact same instant. He grabbed a heavy suitcase nearby and smashed it into the other robber holding a gun. "Yunxin, stay here and use the luggage bag to protect your head." Our bag had a thick cotton quilt inside, perfect as an emergency shield. Liu Yunting said that and then launched himself over the seat backs toward the robbers. People around us heard him and started using their own luggage as shields too. The 6 robbers never expected 2 people on this bus to be such skilled fighters. Liu Yunting and Yi Miao Miao took them all down together, and the gang started turning on each other. "This is your fault. You just had to mess with that woman. Now look what happened. Your mouth stinks." Yi Miao Miao grabbed the one who'd cursed at her and slapped him so hard several teeth flew out. The female lead with her supernatural powers was truly terrifying. Liu Yunting was already tying everyone up and collecting their knives and guns. Once I saw all the robbers were secured, I threw down my bag and rushed out first. "Yun Yunting, you are amazing." Yi Miao Miao was standing right there. "Your boyfriend's amazing, but what about me?" I gave her my sweetest smile. "You're both amazing. Equally amazing." I was trying my best to keep things fair. She reached over and gently pinched my cheek. She told me I was the sweetest, most alive-feeling person she'd met in either the apocalypse or this world. Liu Yunting saw her pinch my face and frowned slightly. Before this, he'd been the only person who'd ever done that. I didn't want a whole bus of people to sit there like ungrateful cowards, so I turned around and announced loudly, "Everyone, it's safe now. The bad guys are all tied up. This brave woman is my good friend Yi Miao Miao, and this brave man is my partner Liu Yunting.
I'm Shen Yunxin."
We're all educated youth heading to Shangjin Commune. The bus erupted. People cheered and called us heroes. One man said he'd never look down on city youth again. Another said Shangjin Commune was lucky to have us. I looked at Yi Miao Miao shyly. "Sorry, I kind of rode your coattails there." But Li Qingqing, still curled up in her seat recovering from her ordeal, glared at me with pure hatred. In her mind, since we were so capable, why didn't we act sooner? She'd nearly had her clothes ripped off. If her reputation was ruined, she'd blame us. Then the driver stumbled out, bleeding from a head wound. The bus was damaged from the crash. Does anyone know anything about fixing vehicles? My head is killing me, but I can talk you through it. I can do it. Liu Yunting raised his hand. He took the toolbox and crawled under the bus. He didn't need a single instruction from the driver, who stood there in shock. Meanwhile, Yi Miao Miao and I helped treat the passengers with the worst injuries. When the bus was fixed, Lu Yunting started the engine and called to the dizzy, vomiting driver, "Get in the passenger seat and point me the way." "I'll drive. You can drive a bus too." The driver couldn't understand why someone this talented was going to the countryside. Lu Yunting drove us straight to the county police station. He helped the driver inside to file the report. The officers came to the bus, interviewed everyone, confirmed it was a robbery, and were relieved that nobody died and no money was lost. They dragged the 6 tied-up robbers off the bus, each one getting a kick on the way out. Then Li Qingqing saw her chance to make trouble. She ran off the bus and grabbed an officer. "Officer, I want to report Lu Yunting and Yi Miao Miao. They clearly had the ability to stop those criminals, but didn't act fast enough. I was almost violated because of them. They're not real heroes. You shouldn't reward them." Lu Yunting walked out of the station just in time to see this ridiculous scene. The officer frowned at her. "Li Qingqing, your personal situation has nothing to do with the fact that these 2 saved an entire bus of people. If you want to pursue charges against the robbers for what they did to you, we can open a separate case." She immediately backed off, waving her hands. No, forget it. I don't want to report anything. Pretend I said nothing." Then she felt Lu Yunting's cold eyes on her. She shivered and ran back onto the bus. Lu Yunting got on and told me everything Li Qingqing had done, mainly to warn me to watch out for her in the future. I glared at her sitting up front. How can someone be this disgusting? Too bad those robbers didn't finish her off. I decided I'd tell Yi Miao Miao about this once we got to Shangjin Commune. Then Lu Yunting shared the good news. "We're getting prize money and medals for this." My eyes lit up. Really? The money didn't matter much. The medals were what counted. In this era, having a medal on your record meant doors would open for you everywhere. I remembered that in the novel, only Yi Miao Miao had ever received a medal and prize money for catching the trafficker on the train. This bus robbery felt like it was arranged by fate specifically for the female lead, so she'd still get the recognition she was supposed to have. Lu Yunting, and I just happened to benefit alongside her this time. I hugged his arm and whispered my conclusion. Sticking close to the female lead means we eat well. Once we get to the countryside, we need to find a way to get the male lead on our side too. The bus driver's head injury was serious, and the police took him to the hospital. Lu Yunting could drive but didn't have a license, and they couldn't find a replacement driver quickly, so a police officer came to drive us the rest of the way. By the time we reached Shangjin Commune, it was almost dark. But the city police had already called ahead, and the commune treated the whole thing as a huge honor. The brigade leader of Xiangshang Brigade, Fu Deong, checked his list of incoming educated youth and discovered that all 3 people involved in the bus heroics were assigned to his brigade. He was so proud, he was practically wagging his tail in front of the other brigade leaders. The other brigades had already picked up their youth and left hours ago, but Fu Deong waited without complaint. When the bus stopped at the commune entrance, the commune leaders and Fu Deong rushed to the door to greet us. The commune leader beamed. "Welcome. Shangjin Commune warmly welcomes comrades Yi Miao Miao, Lu Yunting, and Shen Yunxin. With people like you joining us, the quality of our commune members will surely improve." They practically rolled out a red carpet for the 3 of us. Fu Deong jumped up from behind the commune leaders to make himself seen. "You 3 are all assigned to my Xiangshang Brigade. I'm your brigade leader, Fu Deong. Just call me Uncle Fu." After all the fuss, he led us to the ox cart that the brigade had sent to pick us up. Normally, oxen are the most important livestock in our brigade. The cart is just for hauling your luggage. But today I'll make an exception. The other youth can put their bags on the cart, but the 2 female comrades, Yi and Shen, can ride on it, Wu Huichuan and Gua. Yoji had arrived on a different bus much earlier and had been waiting all this time. Gua Yoji, being a man, didn't say anything about the special treatment. But Wu Huichuan exploded. "How can you be so unfair? You made us wait from morning until dark, and now we can't even ride the cart." Deng Yanin quietly touched her nose and said nothing. She wasn't going to compete with her friends. Li Qingqing was already angry at me and Yi Miao Miao. She pointed her finger and shouted. "Exactly. We're female educated youth too. If you can't even be fair, what kind of leader are you? It was the first time anyone had screamed in Fu Daiyong's face like that, and from a newcomer no less. His expression flipped instantly. You know you're all-female educated youth? Then why were those two brave enough to fight armed robbers while you weren't? It's like the women in our village, some can give birth to boys, and some can only have girls. The treatment is obviously going to be different. You don't understand something this simple?
Don't test me.
Say one more word and see what happens. Fu Daiyong was exactly what you'd expect from a shrewd, rough countryside man. He had no principles when it came to pushing people around. If it weren't for the three of us bringing honor to his brigade today, his usual temper would have had him rejecting Li Qingqing on the spot. In his eyes, city youth coming to the countryside were just extra mouths competing for food. Li Qingqing burst into tears. Fu Daiyong pointed at her. Cry one more time, and you can pack up and go back to the city. You're here to work, not to be a crybaby. She stopped crying immediately. She couldn't go back. Her family needed the money for her brother's jobs and marriages. They'd send her some living expenses, but would never let her come home to freeload. Fu Daiyong turned back to us with a warm smile. You two ladies, please get on the cart. We need to hurry before it gets completely dark. Yi Miao Miao didn't actually need the ride. Her powers and spring water meant she wasn't tired at all. But if she refused, it would mean I couldn't ride either. So she climbed on. Lu Yunting silently helped me up onto the cart and placed his military canteen full of spring water in my hands. Remember to drink plenty of water. Yi Miao Miao watched us and couldn't help feeling envious of our love. Fu Daiyong frowned at Lu Yunting. Comrade Lu, you sure take good care of Comrade Shin. I could tell he had his eye on Lu Yunting, handsome, a fighter, and could drive a bus. He clearly had a daughter in mind. But Lu Yunting announced right there in front of everyone. Shen Yunxin and I are dating. Of course I take extra care of her. Fu Daiyong looked like he'd been struck by lightning. His smile faded.
Oh.
You two are together. He knew his daughter couldn't compete with me. That was the end of that idea. We walked for over an hour before the moon finally came out. Wu Huaichuan and Li Qingqing felt like their legs were about to snap off. They were full of resentment, but didn't dare say a word. Fu Daiyong's aggressive personality kept them in check. After another half hour, we finally saw firelight at a crossroads. Fu Daiyong stopped, pointed ahead, and said between breaths, "That's our village entrance. We made it. Dad, why are you so late?" Mom and my brothers and I were worried sick. A girl ran up to meet us. This was Fu Xiaoning, Fu Daiyong's youngest child and only daughter. She was the family's darling and the only girl in the village who'd attended high school. Fu Daiyong introduced her proudly. This is my daughter, Fu Xiaoning. She graduated from high school. She almost became our village's first female college student. Fu Xiaoning raised her flashlight and shone it directly into Lu Yunting's face. Fu Xiaoning stared at Lu Yunting like she'd never seen a man before. She was completely dazed. Lu Yunting raised his hand to block the flashlight from his face. I noticed what was happening and jumped off the ox cart immediately. From the novel, I knew Fu Xiaoning was flirtatious, spoiled, and bossy. She used her status as the brigade leader's daughter to toy with 3 different male-educated youth. Eventually, she landed a job as a school teacher at the commune's primary school and married the principal's son. Their whole family, from top to bottom, had 0 moral standards. Fu Daiyong noticed his daughter's lovesick staring and awkwardly introduced everyone. Xiaoning, this is Comrade Lu. And this is Comrade Shen, his girlfriend. Fu Xiaoning took one long, deep look at Lu Yunting's face, then barely glanced at me. I could practically hear what she was thinking. So, what if they're dating? They're not married. Who says you can't steal someone's boyfriend? She secretly batted her eyes at Lu Yunting and called out sweetly, "Hello, Comrade Lu." Then she walked toward him and deliberately kicked a pebble, pretending to stumble so she'd fall right into his arms. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Even in the modern world, I'd never met such a shameless woman. Lu Yunting sidestepped without a moment's hesitation. Su Hao was standing right behind him and caught her instead. He thought this was his lucky day. She was the brigade leader's daughter, after all. He held her steady. Fu Xiaoning bit back her frustration, stood up. Using Su Hao's arm, looked at his decent but plain face, and said with a forced smile, "Thank you." But I could tell she thought he was too poor. Fu Daong couldn't bear to watch. He thanked Su Hao and pulled his daughter aside, telling her to go home and have her mother make him noodles. But Fu Xiaoning refused to leave. She kept staring at Lu Yunting. "It's too late for you to walk home alone, Dad. Mom made dumplings tonight. Big brother brought his wife home." Fu Daong went quiet at the mention of dumplings. Apparently his eldest son's wife came from a powerful family. The son had practically married into her clan, and Fu Daong didn't dare complain. The family hadn't had dumplings in a long time. Thinking about those dumplings, he hurried us to the educated youth dormitory. 5 older educated youth were already living there. He gave us a quick rundown. We had tomorrow off, and we needed to register with the brigade accountant before we could get our grain rations. Then he left. Once the father and daughter were alone on the path, he warned her, "Don't go after that Lu boy. He's got a girlfriend, and they're clearly close. You don't stand a chance." But Fu Xiaoning wasn't giving up. She'd heard Lu Yunting was already a model citizen for bravery, which made her want him even more. "Dad, you haven't even let me try. Remember our family tradition? Mom fought to win you over." Big brother replaced his wife's childhood sweetheart. Without big sister-in-law's family backing us, could second brother have gotten a city job? Could you have kept your position as brigade leader? Good things have to be fought for. "You and Mom raised me well. I want to repay you just like Big Brother does." Fu Daong had nothing to say to that. They'd raised this daughter to be exactly like them. Inside the dormitory, the 5 veteran educated youth introduced themselves warmly. 2 women and 3 men, all from Beijing: Su Yanhong, Zhong Qingqing, Zhang Jihua, Jiang Jiangguo, and Jiang Jianhua. Wu Huichuan pushed forward as the self-appointed spokesperson for us newcomers and introduced herself. Li Qingqing glared at her and stated her own name. The rest of us introduced ourselves more normally. Su Hao was so afraid of running into Li Qingqing that he crept to the farthest corner and whispered his name. The 5 veterans could immediately tell the new group had far more drama than they did. Su Yanhong stepped forward. "Welcome. We're all one group now. Before you came, the 5 of us shared meals together. We cook in a big pot and take turns cooking each day. It saves time and firewood. Men handle fetching water. Women handle cleaning. If you all agree, we'll keep the same system." Wu Huichuan immediately asked, "Sister Yanhong, are you the youth team leader?" Su Yanhong shook her head. "No." Wu Huichuan jumped right in. "Well, with 13 of us now, we need a leader. Without one, anyone can just speak up and things will get chaotic. Let's elect a team leader right now and set new rules." Su Yanhong couldn't believe this newcomer's nerve. She rolled her eyes and walked away. The other veterans followed. Lu Yunting went straight into the men's room with the male veterans. Yi Miao Miao, Deng Yanan, and I followed Su Yanhong and Zhong Qingqing into the women's quarters. Wu Huichuan was left standing there with a handful of people. "Fine, let's pick a leader ourselves then." Su Hao tried to sneak away. Li Qingqing chased after him like a cat after a mouse. "Su Hao, stop right there. You owe me an explanation for what you did on the train." Guoyoji sidled up to Wu Huichuan. "I'll support you as leader, but you need to get the others to cooperate first." Wu Huichuan narrowed her eyes. She was selfish, but she wasn't stupid. She could see right through Guoyoji's scheming. Su Hao ran into the men's room with his luggage and slammed the door. Li Qingqing stood outside, pounding on it like a maniac. "Su Hao, get out here. You had the guts to betray me, but not the guts to face me? You're a disgrace to every man alive." Inside the men's room, Su Hao stood there looking embarrassed while the 3 veteran male educated youth shook their heads and sighed. They couldn't understand how the newcomers had so much drama. Lu Yunting's ears hurt from Li Qingqing screaming outside. He told Su Hao, "If you really want to break up with her, just open the door and tell her clearly." Su Hao shrank back. "She's too scary." "I can't," the 3 veteran guys said in unison. "Then get out there." "She's too loud." Su Hao opened the door, but Guoyoji slipped in first. While Su Hao stood frozen, Li Qingqing reached around the door, grabbed him, and dragged him out. 2 loud slaps echoed through the yard, followed by his yelp. On the women's side, we had 2 rooms, both heated brick beds. The 2 veteran women only used the outer room, leaving the inner one empty and uncleaned. I knew from the novel that these two weren't bad people, so I pulled Yi Miao Miao and Deng Yanin to share the room with them. The veteran women kindly told us we could use the kitchen supplies tonight and repay the grain and oil tomorrow. I grabbed some candy and cookies from my bag and brought them over. Thank you, sisters. The three of us want to heat water for baths tonight, so we'll use extra firewood. Su Yanhong and Zhong Qingqing exchanged a look and accepted. Don't worry about it. We all go gather firewood together on the mountain anyway. Then Wu Huichuan walked in and saw me being generous again. She seized the moment. Shen Yanxin, we're in the same brigade now. How about you give me that soda you owe me? Yi Miao Miao and Deng Yanin both moved to defend me, but I stepped forward myself. I share my things with my friends. You insist on embarrassing yourself, so let me be clear, I never had any intention of being friends with you, Wu Huichuan. Everyone behind me stood on my side. Behind Wu Huichuan, nobody. She had no people, no money, and still chose to pick fights. You're all trying to isolate me. A knock at the door saved me from dealing with her further. I saw Lu Yunting outside and ran to him like a happy little bee. He pulled me aside and handed me a bag of bedding he'd secretly prepared in the pocket dimension. Use this to set up the bed. We'll have to stay here for a while, but tomorrow I'll ask the brigade leader for permission to build our own house. Once we move out, things will be better. I looked at him with puppy eyes. You're not even old enough to get a marriage certificate yet. How are we supposed to move out together? The commune leaders seem to like me. I'll figure out the marriage thing. When you go to the brigade leader's house, be careful around Fu Xiaoning. You know what she's like, right? He said with quiet confidence. Relax. I belong only to you. My ears went hot. I gave him a little push. Come out for dinner later. The veteran women are letting us use the kitchen. After he left, he saw Li Qingqing still tormenting Su Hao in the yard. Then he remembered that Su Hao had caught Fu Xiaoning earlier tonight. A restless woman and a restless man. They might be perfect for each other. He gave Su Hao a meaningful look. Su Hao had been begging for help all along. He finally got the signal he needed. He gathered his courage and said firmly, "Yes, I want to break up." Li Qingqing, stop clinging to me. I don't like women like you. Li Qingqing's fingers shook with rage. You worthless freeloader. How dare you yell at me? Slap. She hit him again. You piece of garbage. You don't get to dump me. I'm dumping you. She stormed off into the women's quarters. Su Hao finally exhaled deeply as he watched her leave. Lu Yunting walked over to him. Sorry, I didn't realize what happened on the train would cause you this much trouble. Su Hao had been waiting for this acknowledgement. It's fine. Li Qingqing was never a good choice anyway. I only dated her because I was too poor to do better. Lu Yunting handed him some coupons and money. They say it's easier to demolish a temple than to wreck a marriage, but yours was already broken. Women judge men by appearances. Take this money, clean yourself up. Once the girls around here think you've got resources, you won't just have one Li Qingqing. The village girls will be lining up. Su Hao's mind immediately went to Fu Xiaoning. If he married the brigade leader's daughter, even as a live-in son-in-law, he'd have a powerful backer. Lu Yunting tested him. If you could choose, would you want Li Qingqing to come crawling back? Su Hao shook his head. She's too difficult. We're not compatible. What do you think about me going after the brigade leader's daughter? Go for it. If you can win her over, that's your good fortune. Su Hao walked into the men's quarters brimming with confidence. Lu Yunting went to the men's bathhouse. He didn't dare sneak into the pocket dimensions bathroom, too risky with people around, so he washed with cold water. In the kitchen, I pulled out flour and asked Deng Yanin to help me roll noodles for dinner. Yi Miao Miao contributed eggs and a jar of lard from her own pocket dimension. Egg noodles tonight. Deng Yanin was stunned watching us pull things out. My flour was one thing, but Yi Miao Miao producing eggs was another. How did you keep those eggs from breaking the whole trip? She asked. Yi Miao Miao's brain froze for a second. I quickly jumped in to cover for her. Come on, let's just be happy we have food tonight. Deng Yanin looked guilty. We said we'd look out for each other, but I feel like I'm the one mooching off you too. I patted her shoulder. Don't worry about it. Just make the noodles taste good. Yi Miao Miao said, fry 2 eggs for each of us. I looked at the 6 eggs and reminded her. I invited Lu Yunting to eat with us. Without hesitation, She pulled 2 more eggs from her pocket. Deng Yanin fried the eggs in lard, and they smelled incredible. While we ate, the educated youth in both rooms were practically crying from the aroma. But the veteran youth were too polite to say anything, and Wu Huichuan had learned her lesson after getting shut down twice. Li Qingqing was too worn out from her breakup drama to cause trouble. Guoyoji didn't dare be the first to speak up either. The next morning, Yi Miao Miao and I didn't do anything special. We ate the same rough corn porridge with pickled vegetables and coarse grain buns as everyone else. The 3 of us had zero appetite, but everyone else was starving and ate like wolves. After breakfast, the veteran youth pointedly told Wu Huichuan, Li Qingqing, Guoyoji, and Su Hao, "You ate our rations this morning. Once you pick up your grain from the accountant today, pay us back." The 4 of them clearly felt targeted and uncomfortable. Only Su Hao nodded politely. After the veterans cleaned up and left for work, the newcomers headed out separately to collect their grain rations from the brigade accountant. Su Yanhong watched them go and said, "Just watch. The villagers already don't like us educated youth. If those newcomers keep refusing to stick together, they'll get burned soon." Su Hao, despite being timid, knew which side to stick with. He stayed glued to our little group. After everyone collected their grain and brought it back to the dormitory, Guoyoji was the first to open his rice bag and check. The rice was blackened old stock. The crushed corn had stones mixed in. Most of the sweet potatoes had already sprouted. "Check your grain right now," he called out.
Li Qingqing skufa.
What could possibly be wrong with grain? Su Hao opened his bags. "Mine are all fine." Of course his were fine, and so were ours. When we'd picked up our grain, we'd open the bags and inspected everything right in front of the villagers. They wouldn't dare give us bad stuff with us watching. Wu Huichuan glanced at Su Hao's good grain, then opened her own bags. She cursed. Those sneaky villagers cheated us. She opened Li Qingqing's bags too. All bad grain. Guoyoji clenched his fists. "This is outrageous. They give us rotten grain, but when we pay it back we'll have to return good grain," Li Qingqing said angrily. "We need to go confront them together. If we're united, they can't push us around." Wu Huichuan looked over at our group, hoping we'd join. Yi Miao Miao said flatly, "My grain is all fine. I have things to do, I'm heading out." I agreed. "Mine's fine too. Lu Yunting and I have errands," Li Qingqing exploded. "How is that fair? Why do you get good grain, and we get garbage? We're all educated youth. We're the same group. You should help us." Deng Yanin stepped in. "You got bad grain because you never respected the veteran youth from the start. Don't pull out collective unity only when you're in trouble. What have you ever done for this group? The villagers have probably been pulling this trick for years. If you'd been nicer to the veterans, they would have warned you. We got good grain because Shun Yinshin opened every bag and checked it right in front of them. You carried yours home without looking. You think the villagers will admit to anything now?" Wu Huichuan and Li Qingqing went dark in the face, but had nothing to say. Guoyoji put on his apologetic act. "We should apologize to the veteran youth tonight and elect one of them as our team leader. We educated youth are going to keep getting bullied. We need a leader to stand up for us." Yi Miao Miao let out a scornful laugh. "Comrade Guo, your scheming is so obvious it's hitting me in the face." He turned red with shame. Deng Yanin piled on. "If you'd sincerely elected a leader last night, maybe people would have believed you. Now that you're in trouble, you want a leader to fight your battles? You think everyone's stupid?" Wu Huichuan couldn't take it anymore. She was the poorest among us, and bad grain meant she literally couldn't survive. "So, what are we supposed to do? Just accept it? Or are you all willing to eat our bad grain mixed in with your good grain?" Lu Yunting looked at her coolly. "Why would we mix our good grain with your bad grain? Until you get proper rations, we obviously can't share a communal pot with you. Really? You're going to draw the line that hard right now?" I let out a single, exasperated laugh. Then I pulled out a padlock and handed it to Deng Yanin. "Yanin, please lock all our grain in the cabinets." "Thank you, no problem." Our room had some broken old cabinets, perfect for this. Su Hao didn't dare ask to store his grain with ours. He said quietly, "Comrade Shun, could I borrow a lock too? I'll buy one and return it to you." I already knew Lu Yunting had given Su Hao the mission of redirecting Fu Xiaoning's romantic attention, so I happily handed him a lock from the pocket dimension.
Take it.
No need to return it. Wu Huichuan screamed in frustration. You people are too much, Deng Yanan calmly reminded her. If you want good grain fast without spending money, save your energy and go earn work points in the fields. Li Qingqing glanced at Wu Huichuan smugly. I have money to buy grain. I'm not working today, Wu Huichuan snapped at her. You're still competing at a time like this? Shen and Yi are richer than you and prettier too, and they don't run around showing off like you do. That shut Li Qingqing right up. Yi Miao Miao headed straight to the village. She was going to look for the man she'd followed to this world, her future love interest. Lu Yunting and I couldn't risk pulling things out of the pocket dimension too openly. We were just small cannon fodder characters in this novel world. We needed to keep up appearances, so we went to the commune to buy supplies like normal people. At the village entrance, we caught a ride on an ox cart. The driver was a one-eyed man. Lu Yunting knew from the novel that he was a retired soldier who'd been wounded in service. He paid the man enough to cover the whole trip. The driver agreed and said he'd wait for us at the commune. Su Hao came running up, out of breath, wanting a ride to the commune so he could catch a bus to the county town. I told him the ride cost 10 cents. He paid without hesitation. The ox cart driver quietly understood our kindness and was grateful. At the commune, I watched Su Hao sprint to catch the bus and asked Lu Yunting, do you really think he can seduce Fu Xiaoning? I'll do my best to make it work. He knew all too well how dangerous it was to have an obsessive woman fixated on him. If Fu Xiaoning couldn't be handled, she might target me instead. He absolutely wouldn't let that happen. I worried about offending the brigade leader, but Lu Yunting said, is my reputation less important than keeping the brigade leader happy? Of course not. Trust me. I have plenty of tricks up my sleeve. After 10 years in the system as a cop in our real life, he dealt with every kind of scheming and manipulation. I had complete faith in his abilities. We split up on the commune's main street. I went to the supply store while he took cigarettes and liquor to meet with commune leaders. The supply store had almost nothing worth buying, but I spotted the only bicycle in the entire shop. We happened to have a bicycle coupon, so I bought it on the spot. I rode around the commune entrance a couple of times until Lu Yunting came out of the commune office. How did it go? Money talks in every era. Lu Yunting pulled out a marriage application. He traded several bottles of liquor, cartons of cigarettes, and a small gold bar for it. I just need the brigade leader to sign it and we're done. I almost kissed him right there. You're incredible. Once we were married, Fu Deong couldn't refuse to approve land for us to build a house, no matter what selfish thoughts he had. We found a quiet alley where Lu Yunting ducked into the pocket dimension to grab supplies while I stood guard. He came out with a bag of food and daily necessities, and we headed to the ox cart. Lu Yunting rode the cart with the supplies while I rode the bicycle alongside it. We decided I should be the one seen with the bike. If people thought Lu Yunting was the wealthy one, Fu Xiaoning would chase him even harder. As we passed the village fields, the villagers all stopped to stare at my shiny new bicycle. Besides the brigade leader's beat-up second-hand bike, nobody in this village had ever seen a brand new one. These city-educated youth really have money. So what if they're rich? They still have to do farm work. Unless they marry one of us villagers. I didn't realize some scheming village women were already eyeing me as a potential daughter-in-law for their sons. But with Lu Yunting beside me, I had nothing to worry about, especially since we were about to be married. That afternoon, Su Hao returned from the city, looking like a completely transformed man. He created an even bigger sensation than my bicycle. He'd even brought Fu Xiaoning gifts, snow cream, and a hair clip. They were cheap, but exactly the kind of things that win a girl's heart. Most importantly, when he gave her the gifts, he made sure to casually flash the new watch on his wrist. Lu Yunting was impressed with how well Su Hao could package himself. He even spent a few more yuan secretly paying villagers to spread the word that the new comrade Su was handsome and wealthy. That evening at the Fu family dinner table, Fu Xiaoning's mother noticed the new hair clip and warned her daughter about moving too fast with a man she'd just met.
Fu Dayong tu.
Didn't you just tell me last night you had your eye on that Lu boy? He's clearly the better catch. Accepting gifts from Su so quickly doesn't look good. But Fu Xiaoning was confident.
Mom, Dad, relax.
I know what I'm doing. The whole village is impressed by Su Hao after just one day. It proves we misjudged him last night. The people's eyes don't lie. On top of everything, Fu Xiaoning's vanity played a role too. Compared to Lu Yunting, who had a girlfriend and ignored her completely, she naturally leaned towards Su Hao, who actually showed interest in her. Lu Yunting timed everything perfectly. He waited until the village gossip about Su Hao's wealth had spread enough to make the Fu family's head spin, and then he showed up at Fu Dayong's house with a marriage application, asking for his signature. When he arrived, Fu Xiaoning and her mother were clearing the dinner table. "Good evening, brigade leader." "Oh, Comrade Lu, what brings you here at this hour? You're sharp as always. I do have something important I need your help with." Fu Xiaoning threw another flirty look at Lu Yunting from the side, but he acted like he was completely blind to it. She was furious. Lu Yunting pulled out the marriage application and a pack of cigarettes, handing both over. "Brigade leader, I just need your signature, and we're all set." Fu Dayong saw the commune's official red stamp already on the application. He wanted those cigarettes badly, but didn't dare take them just yet. He picked up the application and said loudly on purpose, "My goodness, Comrade Lu, you're marrying Comrade Shin already." Lu Yunting gave an awkward smile. "Uncle, this isn't even fast. If I hadn't come to the countryside with Xin Yunxin, I probably still wouldn't qualify to marry her." Fu Dayong's gossip radar went up. Lu Yunting continued, "I'm not ashamed to say, without Xin Yunxin, I wouldn't have any of this." He pointed at his unpatched clothes, his leather shoes, and his wristwatch. Fu Dayong's mind immediately flashed to me riding that brand new bicycle back to the village today. What man would choose an ox cart over a bicycle unless the bicycle belonged to someone else? It slowly dawned on him. This impressive-looking Lu Yunting was actually living off his girlfriend's money. He glanced at Fu Xiaoning and sighed quietly. Fu Xiaoning looked at Lu Yunting's back with contempt, then turned on her heel and walked to the kitchen. She was done with him. Fu Dayong quickly pulled out his pen and signed the application. Lu Yunting tucked it away safely, then said, "Brigade leader, the educated youth dormitory doesn't have any married couple rooms. After we get married, it wouldn't be appropriate for us to stay there. Xin Yunxin is willing to pay to build a house in the village. We'd appreciate it if you could approve a plot of land for us." Fu Dayong switched to his official voice. "Educated youth building their own house is allowed. The village can even give you a private plot for growing vegetables. But here's the condition: if you ever leave, the house becomes collective property of the brigade." Lu Yunting nodded. "No problem. We accept." He pushed the cigarettes back into Fu Dayong's hands. "We're new here and don't know anything. We'll need your help arranging workers for the construction." Fu Dayong looked at the quality cigarettes and smiled again. "Don't worry, Comrade Lu. I'll organize the villagers to get your house built before the autumn harvest." The moment Lu Yunting stepped out of the Fu family's yard, he heard Fu Xiaoning complaining inside. "Dad, that Lu guy is worthless. Why did you agree to help them build a house?" Fu Dayong replied, "What do you know? People like them won't stay here long. Once they leave, that house becomes our village's property." Fu Xiaoning scoffed at her father's petty scheming. She only cared about marrying into the city and eating government-supplied grain. Back at the dormitory after dinner, Guoyoji stood up again and proposed electing a youth leader, specifically nominating one of the veteran educated youth. The veterans saw right through it. These newcomers only remembered them when they needed help. Too late. None of them wanted to stick their necks out for a bunch of ungrateful newcomers. Su Yanhong said bluntly, "Don't pick me. I don't want to be leader." Zhong Qingqing added, "Don't pick me either. I'm getting married next month." Li Qingqing and Wu Huichuan both perked up at that, each with different thoughts. Li Qingqing still had her city girl pride. She'd never marry a country bumpkin. Wu Huichuan had spent all day doing backbreaking farm work, but she'd also received several offers from village mothers wanting her as a daughter-in-law. She wasn't stupid, though. If she married a villager, she'd pick the best one. She'd heard Zhong Qingqing's fiancé was pretty good, an only son with 4 married older sisters, and his father was a wounded military veteran. The 3 male veterans also waved their hands. "We don't want to be leader either. Guoyoji slammed the table and stood up.
Fine.
Since none of you want it, I'll be the leader. Any objections? Li Qingqing raised her hand immediately.
No objection.
Leader Gua, please go talk to the brigade leader tomorrow about our bad grain problem. Guoyoji gritted his teeth. I'll speak up for you, but I can't do it for free. You should all chip in a monthly fee to compensate me. That's only fair, right? Dead silence. Everyone turned and walked away without a word. Deng Yanin whispered to me, "Has this guy lost his mind over money?" I just smiled and said nothing. Then from behind us came Li Qingqing's screech. "Su Hao, stop right there. When did you suddenly get so rich? How come I didn't know about this?" Everyone turned around to watch the drama. Su Hao had his eyes on the prize now, Fu Xiaoning. He gathered his courage and stood firm. "Li Qingqing, we already broke up. Whether I have money or not is none of your business anymore. If you're thinking about getting back together, forget it." Li Qingqing was shaking with rage. "Don't flatter yourself, Su Hao. You think I'd take you back? Look in the mirror. You're not worth it." Watching Li Qingqing and Su Hao fight gave me another idea. I could use this to push Fu Xiaoning into locking Su Hao down faster. The next morning, new rumors spread through the village. Fu Xiaoning quickly learned that someone was trying to steal Su Hao from her, and she was jealous that Li Qingqing was his ex-girlfriend. The village women started comparing the two. Can Li Qingqing beat Fu Xiaoning for Su Hao? Probably not. He dumped her once, he'd dump her again. But maybe old feelings will come back, especially now that he's rich. Either way, Li Qingqing clearly regrets it. Wonder if the brigade leader's daughter will lose this round. Fu Xiaoning swore to herself she wouldn't lose. She'd never failed at winning a man before. Li Qingqing was furious. She didn't even believe Su Hao had actually gotten rich. But somehow she'd been dragged into a competition with a village girl, and if she lost to a country bumpkin, she'd never live it down. Fu Xiaoning sent someone to warn Li Qingqing to back off. Li Qingqing shot back a defiant message. "Tell Fu Xiaoning that being the brigade leader's daughter doesn't scare me. She has no right to lecture me, and I wouldn't fight over a man I already threw away." Li Qingqing would never understand that her sharp mouth would be her downfall. Meanwhile, Lu Yunting and I took the day off work to get our marriage certificate. We biked to the commune, then took a bus to the county town. We had our wedding photo taken, ate a big meal at the state-run restaurant, and brought back braised beef sandwiches for Yi Miao Miao and Deng Yanin, 2 each. After eating, we wandered the streets and checked out a scrap collection station, hoping to find treasures like people do in novels. No such luck. I was tired from walking, so we found a quiet spot and slipped into the pocket dimension. I soaked in the upstairs bathtub while Lu Yunting showered downstairs, and then went to check on the crops. The fruit saplings he'd planted days ago had already grown into full trees, some flowering, some bearing fruit. The strawberries were already ripe. The vegetables were mature too. Only the wheat was still green but nearly ready to sprout grain heads. He calculated that crops grew 4 to 5 times faster inside the dimension compared to the outside world. He picked a basket of strawberries because he knew I loved them. I came downstairs in my favorite pink bathrobe and found him preparing strawberries for me in the open kitchen. I hugged him from behind, wrapping my arms around his narrow waist, poking at the 6-pack he'd been working on. He turned and fed me a strawberry. "Good. Everything my husband feeds me tastes good." The words came out with an unintentional double meaning. Before I could take them back, he scooped me up and carried me to the big soft armchair in the living room. "Happy wedding day, wife." We'd been stuck in the cramped youth dormitory with zero privacy. It had been way too long. An hour later, Lu Yunting checked his watch and reluctantly ended things. He kissed my forehead to comfort me. I clung to him wanting more, but he laughed softly. "We need to catch the last bus back to the village." I buried my face in his neck. "I can't wait until we move out of that dormitory," he reassured me. "We're building a simple mud brick house. It'll be fast." He carried me to the dressing room, helped me change, stepped out of the dimension first to check that nobody was around, then signaled me to come out. We caught the last bus to the commune, picked up our bicycle, and rode back to the village. I sat on the back seat, enjoying the endless fields around us. Compared to the cold, concrete jungle of the capital decades in the future, I really did love it here. We got back to the dormitory at dinner time. Dang Yanan saw us and jumped up. The newlyweds are back. Congratulations. Yi Meow Meow walked in carrying 2 fat wild rabbits and a wild pheasant. Congratulations, this is my wedding gift to you. Yanan, help me with these. Stir-fry the rabbit, stew the chicken. The veteran-educated youth immediately offered to help. I'm great at skinning rabbits. I can pluck the chicken and contribute dried mushrooms, Mountain. Mushrooms make the best chicken soup, Yi Meow Meow said generously. Then tonight everyone eats meat together. Wu Huichuan and Guoyoji looked at each other nervously from the other table. Can we join in? Yi Meow Meow turned to them. Looks like you only want to bring your mouths to mooch. I'll pass. Wu Huichuan jumped up angrily. That's too much. You think you're so great? Those animals from the mountain belong to the collective, not to you. Then go report me. Yi Meow Meow's eyes turned ice cold. Just you wait. Wu Huichuan ran out. I knew from the novel that villagers were allowed to hunt small animals like rabbits and pheasants from the mountain without turning them in. The female lead's plot armor was working perfectly. Sure enough, one of the veteran youth casually mentioned this rule, clearly for Yi Meow Meow's benefit. Village people hated tattletales. Wu Huichuan wouldn't listen to good advice, and nobody was going to waste their breath trying. That left Guoyoji sitting alone, unable to fit in with anyone. He'd heard that Su Hao had been invited to dinner at the brigade leader's house tonight, and the jealousy was eating him alive. He was already scheming to find village allies instead. Lu Yunting noticed that the dormitory was missing not just Su Hao tonight, but also Li Qingqing. Even though I don't really care about Li Qingqing as a person, I knew it wasn't safe for a female educated youth to wander around the village after dark. But I couldn't deal with that right now. Among the new educated youths, aside from our little group, none of them were easy to handle, especially Li Qingqing, who sometimes acted like a complete lunatic. In the kitchen, the veteran educated youths all pitched in to help cook. 2 plates of stir-fried rabbit meat and a pot of wild chicken stewed with mushrooms were quickly brought to the table. Everyone held up their bowls of chicken soup and toasted to celebrate my marriage with Lu Yunting. Thank you, everyone, I said. Somehow, even something this simple felt like a real ceremony. Su Yanhong put down her soup bowl and sighed. You two got married right after arriving here. You're both happy and lucky. Unlike many other educated youths who ended up marrying local villagers, Zhang Jihua sneaked a glance at Su Yanhong but said nothing. Zhong Qingqing held Su Yanhong's hand and comforted her. Don't be like that, Sister Yanhong. Even though I'm getting married next month and leaving, I'm sure Yanan can take my place and keep you company. Deng Yanan promised. Don't worry, Sister Yanhong. From now on, we'll look out for each other at the educated youth station. Su Yanhong's eyes turned red. Okay. We'll look out for each other. Then she suddenly broke down. Honestly, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. There's no hope of going back to the city. I'm not getting any younger. My parents already wrote me a letter telling me to find someone here and get married. Yi Meow Meow and I both sighed quietly in our hearts. These educated youths really had it rough. There were still about 10 years until the reform and opening up. But since I'm someone who transmigrated into this book, I knew that Su Yanhong and Zhang Jihua actually liked each other. It's just that Zhang Jihua's family burden was too heavy. Every month he had to send back whatever little money he saved. They were both clear-headed enough to know they couldn't get married. But in the book, Zhang Jihua's sick mother would pass away soon, and once that weight lifted from his shoulders, he'd finally have the courage to propose to Su Yanhong. She did wait for him in the end. When the mood suddenly dropped, Lu Yunting stood up and handed out wedding candy to everyone, the expensive white rabbit milk candies. Each person got 9 pieces. Since I love milk candy, we didn't prepare much of any other kind of candy. After passing out the candy, Lu Yunting said, I'm truly grateful for everyone's blessings. I've already applied to the brigade leader to build a house. Once we move out, we'll hold a housewarming and wedding banquet together and invite everyone to come eat. Yi Meow Meow added. I'll be moving out too, so get ready. In about half a month you'll be eating 2 feasts back to back. Great. We can't wait. The atmosphere at the table livened up again. After dinner, everyone worked together to clean up the dishes and wash the pots. When everything was tidied up and we were getting ready to rest, We noticed the leftover mess on the new educated youth's table and remembered Wu Huichuan, who had stormed out earlier. These people are way too much. They didn't even clean up after eating. Zhang Jihua saw that the door to the male educated youth's room was closed. He walked over and knocked. Guiyoji, I know you're in there. You didn't even bother cleaning up your dishes. What's that about? Guiyoji answered shamelessly from inside. It's not my turn for kitchen duty today. Wu Huichuan hasn't even finished the rice in her bowl. Just wait. She'll come back and clean up. Zhong Qingqing was furious. How can you new educated youths all be so selfish? You talk about wanting to fit in with the group, but all you really want is to take advantage. When it's time to help each other, you hide like cowards. Wu Huichuan still hasn't come back. Are you just going to leave those pots and bowls sitting there all night? Jiang Jianguo spat in disgust. I've never seen such a spineless man. Guiyoji went silent. That was just his nature. He couldn't stand losing even a little bit. Lu Yunting and I didn't want to waste our breath on this guy. We both knew from the novel that Guiyoji was the worst of them all. After the college entrance exam was reinstated, he'd be the first person in this village to abandon his wife and children. Just then, Wu Huichuan came running back in a panic. Her shirt buttons were all done up wrong, and she looked completely disheveled. But what she said next shocked everyone. Something terrible happened. Li Qingqing is rolling around with old bachelor son from the village. Lu Yunting and I both felt our hearts drop. The plot had deviated, but Li Qingqing's fate hadn't changed. The other educated youths around us looked stunned and horrified. Everyone knew that Li Qingqing's life was basically over now. There were quite a few old bachelors in the village, but ones like old bachelor's son who stayed single because he was a troublemaker in his youth. There weren't many like him. Zhong Qingqing asked in confusion. What do you mean they're rolling around together? Wu Huichuan seemed surprised by her innocence and gave a wicked little smile. You know, the way a man and a woman get together to make babies. Zhong Qingqing was so startled, she nearly threw up. Su Yanhong glared at Wu Huichuan. You're a woman too. Can't you talk without being so snide about it? Deng Yan'an spoke up. So what do we do now? Li Qingqing must have been set up by someone. Wu Huichuan said, it's hard to say whether she was set up. From what I saw, she wasn't resisting old bachelor son at all. Otherwise, I definitely would have helped her. If that was really the case, then there wasn't much anyone could do to help. In fact, even if a god came down right now, it would be too late. Lu Yunting and I exchanged a glance. We knew Li Qingqing hadn't escaped her fate. Then Yi Miao Miao suddenly asked a very sharp question. Wu Huichuan, weren't you going to the brigade leader's house to report me? How did you end up wandering over to old bachelor son's place? Wu Huichuan clearly didn't expect that Yi Miao Miao, a newcomer, would already know the village layouts so well. I wasn't familiar with the village and took a wrong turn and ran into them. Yi Miao Miao and I accidentally made eye contact, and we both silently agreed. We didn't believe a word of it. But there was no point pressing her for the truth either. Wu Huichuan, are you absolutely sure Li Qingqing was with old bachelor son willingly? Deng Yan'an still cared about Li Qingqing since they'd known each other since childhood. Wu Huichuan thought back to what she saw and said, I think it was voluntary. Li Qingqing didn't resist at all. She actually seemed to be enjoying it. Su Yanhong sighed. I guess different people have different tastes. If Li Qingqing really did this willingly, there's nothing we can do to help. After the veteran educated youths all went to rest, I called Deng Yan'an and Yi Miao Miao out to the courtyard and took out the braised beef pastries I'd bought for them. These are really delicious. I brought them back from the county town especially for you too. The pastry shell was crispy and the big chunks of braised beef inside were incredibly fragrant. They really were tasty. Yi Miao Miao ate a piece of beef and said, It's so nice going to the city. I want to go tomorrow too. The cooked food she'd prepared in her spatial storage was almost all gone. Deng Yan'an looked up at her curiously. You and Lu Yunting got permission to go to the city because you were getting married. You already skipped work today to wander around the village. If you skip work again tomorrow, will the brigade leader even allow it? Yi Miao Miao looked at her. Are you silly? The village isn't busy right now. If I do less work, the villagers earn more work points. You think the brigade leader would mind that? I knew exactly what Yi Miao Miao had been doing wandering around the village. In the novel, she was gathering information about the male lead to confirm whether he was the man she was looking for, and also strengthening her water element ability. Deng Yinan paused her eating and thought about it for a moment before understanding. Yi Miao Miao just hadn't said it out loud, but she obviously didn't need those few work points to eat. Early the next morning, the whole village exploded with excitement. Old Bachelor Sun's blind mother let out a howl that drew every single person in the village over. She was publicly crying and wailing about how her poor old son's innocence had been ruined by a female educated youth. When everyone rushed over, they saw with their own eyes that Li Qingqing was still clinging to old Bachelor Sun in a daze, while the older man was lying on the bed completely exhausted and unable to move. Oh my, old Bachelor Sun really made something of himself. He actually got a pretty city girl to fall for him. Li Qingqing was also worn out. She lifted her head and hazily looked around at all the gawkers, then just buried her face against old Bachelor Sun and fell asleep. When the children outside started pushing their way in to look, old Bachelor Sun's second aunt turned around and shooed everyone out. All right, neither of them has clothes on. Stop looking and get out. Old Bachelor Sun's mother, seeing that nobody was watching her, quickly wiped some spit on her face to fake tears and kept sitting at the door crying. My poor old son. How can this city-educated youth be so shameless? Our Sun family has never had such a scandalous thing happen in all our generations. Every single person there knew this was actually the best thing that could have happened. The old bachelor scored himself a pretty young wife for free. His mother was clearly just showing off while pretending to be upset. Mother Fu and Fu Xiaoning quietly slipped out of the crowd, both grinning from ear to ear. They happened to run right into the educated youths who were rushing over. Fu Xiaoning put on a bossy attitude and said, "Perfect, you're all educated youths. Does anyone know Li Qingqing's family contact information? Step forward. She shamelessly did this disgusting thing, so we need to notify her family and have them agree to let her marry old Bachelor Sunday. Otherwise, the Sun family will definitely report her for being a hooligan." Both Yi Miao Miao and I felt nothing but contempt for this bossy Fu Xiaoning. Su Yanhong thought for a moment and said, "Li Qingqing just arrived not long ago. None of us know her very well, but I heard that Su Hao was dating her before they came to the countryside. He's the one among us who knows her best." Fu Xiaoning's face soured when she heard the second half of that. Luckily, she'd already gotten a firm grip on Su Hao. Otherwise, she would have had to warn Su Yanhong to back off. Zhang Zihua slapped his forehead and suddenly remembered. Su Hao didn't come back last night. He's not here right now either. Fu Xiaoning seized the chance to announce loudly, "Su Hao got drunk at my house last night and slept over with my father. Of course, he didn't go back to your educated youth station. If you people can't help Li Qingqing, then I'll go ask Su Hao myself." Now the whole village had heard. Su Hao is clearly going to become the brigade leader's live-in son-in-law, and nobody else should even think about going after him. Meanwhile, Su Hao was hiding at the Fu house and didn't dare go outside. He'd already guessed that Li Qingqing must have been set up and ended up in old Bachelor Sun's bed. He didn't know exactly how they'd done it, but he was certain the Fu family was behind it. The Fu family was terrifying. Fu Xiaoning was no ordinary woman. Now, he was starting to worry. What would happen to him if the Fu family found out he was a fake rich guy? He was already broke.
Then
He suddenly remembered that the only person who could help him was Lu Yunting, because all the money he'd had came from Lu Yunting's support in the first place. He ran out in a panic and bumped right into Fu Xiaoning coming home. "Su Hao, where are you going?" Fu Xiaoning looked angry. "Are you still worried about that Li Qingqing?" Su Hao didn't dare hesitate for even a second. "Of course not." Fu Xiaoning saw the firmness in his eyes and finally relaxed. She walked over, grabbed both his arms and said, "We need to figure out how to tell Li Qingqing's family about her and old Bachelor Sun's affair. Let them make a decision. Either let Li Qingqing marry old Bachelor Sun, or the Sun family will report her as a hooligan and the police will take her away." Su Hao felt a chill run through him. He immediately said, "I know the contact information for the feed factory where Li Qingqing's parents work. I'll tell you right now." Fu Xiaoning switched to holding his arm and acting cute. "Su Hao, you're so nice. You're already helping my dad with his problems. That makes me so happy, Su Hao thought to himself. Glad you're happy. After leaving the Fu house, the first thing he did was run back to the educated youth station to find Lu Yunting. Lu Yunting, you have to help me again. Li Qingqing was set up by the Fu family. I don't have proof, but I just know it. Lu Yunting had long expected this guy to be a coward. He only asked one question. You don't want to marry Fu Xiaoning anymore? Su Hao froze. He knew deep down that he had no hope of returning to the city. Nobody in his family would help him. If he wanted an easier life, he had to find someone to back him up in this village. He gathered his courage and said, Of course I want to become part of the brigade leader's family. But what if they find out my identity is fake? Lu Yunting gave him a piece of advice. If something's fake, it'll get exposed sooner or later. But you need to make a decision. Do you wait until they corner you with no way out? Or do you throw the blame first so their family always feels guilty toward you? Lu Yunting patted Su Hao's shoulder and told him, Go home and think it over. If you come up with a plan, I can help. But nobody can ever know you asked me. Su Hao nodded hard. Over at the Sun family's place, Li Qingqing and Sun Guangguan, the village bachelor, had been unconscious in bed for a full day and night before waking up. Sun Guangguan woke first and kicked her aside. That wasn't even fun. You nearly drained me dry. Li Qingqing opened her eyes to an unfamiliar ceiling. After a dizzy spell, she remembered everything. She'd been tricked. That evening after work, Sun Guangguan had told her that Fu Xiaoning wanted to meet her face-to-face to clear the air. Li Qingqing had agreed. She wanted to tell Fu Xiaoning she had zero interest in fighting over Su Hao. But when she got to the Sun house, Fu Xiaoning wasn't there. Sun Guangguan's mother gave her a bowl of sugar water, and after drinking it she lost control of herself and ended up in bed with the bachelor. She vaguely remembered a dream where the entire village caught her lying in bed with him. But it wasn't a dream. She jumped up screaming, You ruined me. You ruined my life. Sun Guangguan kicked her in the chest. You seduced me. The whole village saw you clinging to me yesterday morning, refusing to let go. Everyone can testify, and your family already agreed to the marriage. Go ahead and make a fuss. I don't even want to marry you anymore. Li Qingqing turned white. Her voice went hoarse. That wasn't a dream. Sun Guangguan just walked out in his underwear. She found her torn clothes on the floor, shakily dressed herself, and ran out of the Sun house. The entire village was pointing fingers and laughing at her. Li Qingqing, you finally came out of Sun Guangguan's house. When's the wedding banquet? She ran back to the dormitory half insane. Wu Huaichuan only sneered at her. Deng Yanan was the one who kindly told her what had happened over the past 2 days. When Li Qingqing heard that her own parents had agreed to the marriage and wouldn't help her, she fainted. When she woke up, she'd been sent back to the Sun house. This time she didn't dare fight. She didn't leave the house for several days. When she finally appeared in public again, her face was bruised and swollen. All the fight had drained out of her. She worked quietly in the fields. Her blind mother-in-law even had the brigade leader assign her the hardest jobs, the ones that earned the most work points. She didn't resist. I was worried. I asked Yi Miao Miao while we were pulling weeds together, what do you think happened to Li Qingqing? In the novel, Li Qingqing was supposed to be tricked into marrying a different bachelor and eventually became a fierce, loud woman, but calmed down after having a son. This time, though, she'd crossed Fu Xiaoning, and that vicious girl had engineered something much worse, handing her to Sun Guangguan, the village troublemaker. Everyone knew he'd been a petty thief his whole life, and after his mother went blind, neither of them did any honest work. They survived purely on his stealing. I didn't want to imagine what Li Qingqing's life in that house would become. In the novel, Sun Guangguan was supposed to die alone without ever getting married. Yi Miao Miao watched Li Qingqing for a moment. She's living a terrible life at the Sun house. She's holding on to a lot of anger. She'll try to get revenge on someone soon. Revenge on who? The Sun family, the Fu family. She doesn't want to let any of them go. But she's so confused right now, she probably hasn't figured out a plan yet. I thought about how all the minor characters' fates from the novel were already changing, and we'd only just arrived. Everyone at the dormitory felt a little guilty. If we'd done something that night when she disappeared, maybe things wouldn't have gone this far. Yi Miao Miao must have thought I was being soft-hearted. She tried to comfort me. Don't overthink it. We can't change other people's destinies. Li Qingqing may not be truly evil, but her mouth always gets her in trouble. If she hadn't mouthed off and angered Fu Xiaoning, this wouldn't have happened so fast. I was touched that this cold, aloof female lead was actually trying to comfort me, even if she'd read the situation wrong.
Thank you, Miao Miao.
I'm really glad we're friends. She realized she'd misjudged my reaction, but it was a nice moment between us. Something strange, though. Yi Miao Miao told me she couldn't sense anything about me or Lu Yunting with her supernatural abilities. Her powers could read other people, but we were completely blank to her. Still, her instincts told her we weren't a threat, and she chose to trust that. I'd noticed the same thing from our side. After work, I told Lu Yunting about this discovery. That evening, Su Hao came back from another dinner at the brigade leader's house and found Lu Yunting. Comrade Lu, Fu Xiaoning and I are getting married soon. Lu Yunting was surprised at how fast things had moved. He patted Su Hao's shoulder. Congratulations. You got what you wanted, but Su Hao's face was tense, not happy. You must be wondering why it's happening so fast. I lied to them. Fu Xiaoning kept trying to call my parents to check on my family background. So I told her the truth, that my money didn't come from family. I said I accidentally found a chest full of gold and jewelry hidden in a cave in the back mountain. He explained this was actually just a setup he'd prepared. He needed Lu Yunting to agree to help before he could actually tell the Fu family. Lu Yunting is such a smart person. Just from hearing that much, he'd already figured out what Su Hao was planning next. Sure enough, Su Hao put his hands together and begged, Lu Yunting, I know you're really capable. Can you please help me one last time? Lu Yunting smiled at him. Of course, no problem. Thank you, Lu Yunting. The two of them then quietly worked out the details of what Su Hao needed Lu Yunting's help with. That's when I showed up. Ahem, what are you two doing over there? Because he needed Lu Yunting's help. Su Hao was extra polite when he saw me. Hello, Xin Yunxin. I felt a little awkward with his sudden friendliness and just replied politely, hello. Go on, get out of here. Lu Yunting gave him a light kick. Right, okay. After I watched Su Hao go into the male-educated youth dormitory, I quietly asked the man beside me, what did he come back to talk to you about this time? Lu Yunting checked that nobody was around, then took my hand and started walking. Let's go check on the new house. In a few more days, when the mud walls are dry, we can move in. On the way, Lu Yunting told me what Su Hao had asked him to help with. After hearing it all, I was absolutely amazed. It's true what they say. You need an even bigger lie to cover up a lie. I said, doesn't Su Hao realize the brigade leader's family isn't easy to mess with? Can he really get what he wants by lying his way in like this? Lu Yunting replied, of course he doesn't know. Women as bold and ruthless as Fu Xiaoning are extremely rare. Normal families with values like the Fu family are extremely rare too. Without our God's eye view, we'd never know what kind of people they really are. But Su Hao does have his advantages. He is a man in a traditional society, after all. The new house was right next to the educated youth station, not far at all. We arrived before we even finished talking. I looked at the mud brick house that was already built and said, have someone build a wall around it in the next few days. I want a big courtyard. Lu Yunting lovingly patted my head. Go on in. I didn't understand at first. Why would I go in right now? Lu Yunting said, I'll keep watch for you. I immediately got it and happily said, hubby, thank you. Once inside my spatial dimension, I first drank a big cup of spirit spring water, then made myself a large self-heating hot pot. After that I went to take a bath. Bath plus red wine, pure bliss. After my bath, I came out to eat the hot pot, saved half for Lu Yunting, then went outside to pick some strawberries. I discovered the peaches and watermelons in the black soil had also ripened. I picked some fruit, and then left the space. Then it was Lu Yunting's turn to go in. The next day at noon when work ended, Su Hao went to the brigade leader's house again to eat. Gua Yoji stood behind Su Hao watching with pure jealousy. Wu Huichuan was equally envious, though she already had her own target in mind. Just then, Zhong Qingqing's voice came from behind. Brother Yunyao, didn't your fourth sister just have a baby recently? I specially had someone buy this brown sugar from the commune yesterday. Please take it to her for me. Zhong Qingqing was about to marry Zhou Yuniao. Everyone in the village knew this, and the Zhou family was very happy with her. Wu Huaichuan turned her head to look with a smug expression. This Zhong Qingqing was pretty well off. She could even get her hands on brown sugar ration tickets. Up ahead, Su Hao had already arrived at the brigade leader's house. Fu Xiaoning hadn't gone to work in the fields. She came out of the kitchen carrying a dish and saw Su Hao. She immediately put on a shy face. Brother Su Hao, you're finally back from work. Are you tired? Su Hao smiled and said, working is definitely tiring, but I'm a man. I'll get used to it. In reality, with his status as the brigade leader's future son-in-law, even though he was technically doing standard male-educated youth labor, anyone with half a brain in the fields would help him out. He wasn't tired at all. The brigade leader glanced at his daughter, then quietly walked out to give the two of them some space. Fu Xiaoning immediately walked over and grabbed Su Hao's arm. I feel so bad for you. As long as you haven't married me, you're still an educated youth, and educated youths have to work. There's no way around it. Once we're married, things will be better. This time, Su Hao finally looked her in the eyes and responded directly.
Yes.
Let's get married right away. Fu Xiaoning was thrilled. Brother Su Hao, you've finally decided. Then take the afternoon off from the fields and come with me to the commune to call your parents. This was the last step before they could publicly announce the wedding. Fu Xiaoning definitely wanted to call and find out what exactly the Su family's situation was. Su Hao then told her the plan he'd already shared with Lu Yunting. Xiaoning, you don't need to call my parents. They've always favored my older brother and younger brother over me. The reason I got sent to the countryside was because they forced me to take my older brother's spot. The money I have, I found it by accident in a cave in the mountains behind the village. The gold and jewelry in that cave all belong to me. They have nothing to do with my parents. If I marry you, I'd be happy to share those treasures with you. Fu Xiaoning's mind was blown. All her guesses had been completely wrong. So that's how it was. She immediately asked, how much treasure did you actually find in the cave? Su Hao fought hard to hide his nervousness and kept a straight face. Those big mahogany chests, one full of gold and one full of jewelry and jade. Those things are too eye-catching right now, so I didn't dare take them out. I only grabbed some of the cash that was sitting nearby. Xiaoning, I truly want to marry you. Otherwise, I'd never tell you this huge secret. Those 2 chests are my ticket to a whole new life. Fu Xiaoning swallowed hard. Brother Su Hao, you're way too careless. Leaving those things in a cave is definitely not safe. If you found them, someone else could too. Let's get married right away. Then I'll call my 2 older brothers back to help move the treasure somewhere safe. Su Hao said, don't worry, Xiaoning. You're the only person I've ever told this secret. That cave was meant for me. It was a gift from heaven. How else could it have gone undiscovered all these years until I found it? So please don't tell anyone about this. Don't worry, brother Su Hao. I won't tell a soul. All that treasure belongs to us. Fu Xiaoning felt like her heart was about to leap out of her chest from excitement. That afternoon, the news spread from the Fu household that Fu Xiaoning and Su Hao would be getting married the day after tomorrow. If it wouldn't have looked too rushed and gotten people gossiping, Fu Xiaoning would have married him on the spot. Both Su Hao and Li Qingqing were educated youth who'd come to the countryside together, but now one was having a grand wedding while the other had been tricked into living with the village's worst bachelor. The contrast was brutal. Li Qingqing's face went dark with rage. To make it worse, a nosy village woman deliberately came up to her. Li Qingqing, we heard you and Sun Guangguan are together now. We'll be drinking at Su Hao's wedding soon. When are you and Sun Guangguan hosting yours? In the countryside, a wedding banquet mattered more than the actual marriage certificate. Not having one meant total embarrassment. Li Qingqing sneered and said the most vicious thing she could think of. Annie Wang, instead of worrying about my wedding, maybe you should wonder why Fu Xiaoning is in such a rush to marry Su Hao. He's been running to the brigade leader's house every night. Maybe they already did the deed and she's got a baby in her belly. That's why they're rushing. Annie Wang gasped and ran away. Everyone else scattered from Li Qingqing too. Li Qingqing felt like crying. She was living worse than death at the Sun house. She had nothing left to lose. The next day, Fu Xiaoning and Su Hao rushed to get their marriage certificate. Su Hao was so happy he felt dizzy. That night, Fu Xiaoning pulled him into the bridal chamber. She was experienced. She nearly got him to reveal the exact location of the treasure cave while they were in bed. But he held himself together. Don't rush, Xiaoning. After the wedding banquet, we'll go find the cave. She agreed to wait. After all, he was already hers. The next morning, the Fu family threw a huge wedding feast. Su Hao and Fu Xiaoning couldn't even get out of bed. But the Fu family didn't complain. They were after that treasure. Even Fu Daiyong's eldest daughter-in-law came back from the city to help, spending her own money. It was a good chance for us educated youth to build relationships with the villagers, so everyone from the dormitory went to help. I went with Yi Miao Miao, partly because it was a legitimate excuse to skip work, and partly because where there are women, there's gossip. The village women had no formal education, but they had mountains of juicy stories. Who cheated on who, whose child wasn't really the husband's, even whose father-in-law was sleeping with his daughter-in-law. By the time the feast started, Yi Miao Miao and I were so full from gossip we barely cared about the food. Just as we were still soaking up more drama, a scream erupted behind us.
Ah!
A horrible stench of old urine hit my nose and throat. I nearly threw up. Yi Miao Miao grabbed me with lightning reflexes, and we jumped away. A second later, a ladle full of urine splashed across our table. Several village women couldn't dodge in time and got soaked. Ha ha ha.
Fu Xiaoning. Su Hao.
You too, despicable people. I'm ruining your precious wedding day. I curse you both. May you cheat on each other for the rest of your miserable lives. It was Li Qingqing. She'd gone completely insane. She'd already doused Fu Xiaoning and Su Hao with 2 full scoops. They'd fled inside. But she wasn't done. She started flinging urine at every table. The wedding feast was completely destroyed. Fu Daiyong screamed and slapped his thigh. Someone grab this lunatic, Li Qingqing shrieked back. Yeah, I'm crazy. Come closer, and I'll splash you too. This is my blind mother-in-law's urine. Anyone who isn't afraid of the bad luck, come get some. She'd brought 2 full buckets. One was already empty, but the second was still right beside her. A big man who'd caught a face full of urine jumped up crying and ran straight to the pond outside, throwing himself in with a huge splash. Others saw that and completely lost their nerve. Nobody dared go near the crazy woman. Fu Daiyong was crying with rage. Go get Sun Chong. That was Sun Guangguan's real name. A man volunteered to go fetch him, but the instant he spoke up, Li Qingqing whipped a ladle of urine right into his face. He ran screaming and jumped into the pond too. Fu Daiyong pointed at her furiously. I'm calling the police. She scooped up a massive ladle and threw it right at his face. He nearly passed out from rage. Go ahead and call them. I didn't kill anyone or set any fires. What are they going to arrest me for? She decided she'd caused enough chaos, kicked the remaining bucket over, urine flowing everywhere, and ran. Everyone scrambled out of the yard in horror, watching the puddle of old woman's urine spread across the ground. Nobody wanted to touch it. Someone shouted, Brigade leader. She's running toward the back mountain. Of course, she was heading to the mountain to hide. Sun Guangguan's family would beat her to death otherwise. The Fu household was in total chaos. Nobody had the energy to chase her. But the Fu family wasn't as devastated as they should have been. They were all holding on to their big secret, the treasure cave. They didn't even bother blaming each other. They just cleaned up the yard together that afternoon and waited for nightfall to go find the cave. Compared to the Fu family's excitement, Su Hao was a nervous wreck inside. He and Lu Yunting had already secretly found a cave in the mountains. He was praying that everything would go smoothly tonight. After dark, once the village was completely quiet with only a few dogs barking here and there, the Fu family grabbed their flashlights and headed out. Su Hao walked at the front. Lu Yunting had already snuck into the mountains earlier to avoid being seen. There were way too many mosquitoes in the mountains, so he went inside the cave. While looking around inside, he suddenly heard a faint sound. It was like the tapping of an old-fashioned telegraph machine. Why would there be a sound like that in these mountains? Could it be an enemy spy, the kind that was common in this era? He quietly crept out of the cave and the sound disappeared completely. Then he walked back in and followed the rock wall all the way to the back of the cave, pressing his ear against the stone. The tapping sound became much clearer. On the other side of this cave, there really was a hidden enemy spy nest. Liu Yunting's heart raced with excitement, but the sound suddenly stopped. Had he been discovered? Soon, he heard the Fu family's voices outside. Let's take a break. I'm exhausted. Brigade Leader Fu worked in the fields every day. Right now, just thinking about those 2 chests of treasure gave him endless energy. You people are so lazy from sitting around at home and in the city. We've barely walked any mountain trail. What's there to be tired about? Su Hao wasn't tired either. His heart was pounding and his eyes were darting around everywhere, terrified that the plan might not work. The eldest Fu brother's wife noticed something off about Su Hao. What do you keep looking at? Su Hao said. I'm trying to find the cave. It's hard to get my bearings in the mountains at night, she replied. Well, you better not lead us to the wrong one, Su Hao nodded. Inside the cave, Liu Yunting took out his phone from the spatial storage and played the pre-recorded audio at full volume. Damn it. What are you guys dawdling for? Hurry up and move the stuff. Be careful. Don't you dare chip my jade pieces. There were 2 recordings in total, more than enough for the Fu family, who had already arrived nearby, to hear. The eldest brother's wife reacted first. Oh my god, there are actually other people out here in these wild mountains. The eldest Fu brother was scared too. Could they be bandits? Should we find somewhere to hide? Brigade Leader Fu sometimes went hunting in the mountains with other villagers, so he kept calm. Don't be ridiculous, bandits? We're so close to the village. What kind of bandit would be that bold? Then the recording played again. All right, everything's loaded. Let's go. Su Hao silently counted to 3 in his head, then suddenly yelled. No! Quick, get to the cave. He charged in first. The Fu family scrambled in right behind him. They shined the flashlight around. The cave was completely empty. Crash. Liu Yunting kicked open a second exit that Su Hao had prepared beforehand. Once the Fu family heard the noise and chased toward it, Liu Yunting stepped out and slipped into his spatial dimension. Su Hao screamed desperately. Stop right there. You took my things. Those are mine. All mine. Then, afraid that Liu Yunting hadn't hidden yet, he rushed to the exit first and deliberately blocked the Fu family for a second. Go after them. Brigade Leader Fu was losing his mind. He shoved Su Hao hard, nearly sending him headfirst into a pile of rocks. Brother Su Hao, are you okay? Fu Xiaoning half-heartedly helped him up. Su Hao watched Brigade Leader Fu chase off into the distance. The man was already 2 miles out. Then he looked up at the woman beside him. Wife, I only ever told one person about this cave's secret. You. What? What are you saying? Fu Xiaoning was genuinely confused. Su Hao forced a look of regret and pain onto his face. Forget it. I told you, because I liked you. It was my own choice. Fu Xiaoning quickly realized she was being accused. She screamed angrily. What nonsense are you talking about? You told me this cave existed, but you never told me where it was. Today was the first time any of us came here. You let us yourself. Besides, we're married now. We got the marriage certificate. We had the wedding banquet. We're family. Are you really going to suspect me? Brigade Leader Fu came back with the rest of the family. Stop fighting, you two. Yes, a group of people did run down the mountain, but Su Hao, I'm telling you right now, tonight's thieves were absolutely not sent by our Fu family. Su Hao pretended to clutch his head in agony. The eldest brother, his wife, and the second brother all let out heavy sighs. Only Fu Xiaoning was the first to truly realize the situation. She was done for. After all her scheming, she'd ended up picking a broke, educated youth. She felt like every curse that crazy Li Qingqing had screamed at them might actually come true. When they got home, Fu Xiaoning immediately turned cold towards Su Hao. If the rest of the family hadn't held her back, she would have kicked him out right then and there. In the following days, Liu Yunting went back up the mountain and found the hidden cave where the telegraph sounds had been coming from. But after the Fu family's noisy rampage in the neighboring cave that night, the spy never returned to use the telegraph again. Liu Yunting was worried the spy might have moved to a new location. Then he remembered something suspicious. He took out a compass and tested it. Sure enough, the magnetic field inside this cave was different from normal. That meant if the spy ever wanted to use the telegraph again, he'd have to come back to this exact spot. This needed to be reported to the local authorities as soon as possible. But Liu Yunting couldn't let the Fu family suspect that he'd found the place on his own. Otherwise, they might connect things back to him. 2 days later, a heavy rainstorm hit. I ran over to tell him. Good news, the educated youths are definitely going up the mountain to pick mushrooms today. Then I wiggled my eyebrows at him. We were on the same wavelength. He realized it too. If we all went up the mountain together today, the Fu family wouldn't have any reason to suspect him later. Sure enough, all I had to do was mention wanting to pick mushrooms back at the station, and everyone immediately agreed. A big group of us headed up to the mountains and found that plenty of villagers had already beaten us there. Yi Miao Miao didn't want to pick mushrooms. She wanted to hunt some wild game. Without meat, all those fresh mushrooms would go to waste. I noticed Yi Miao Miao heading off into the deeper part of the mountain by herself, but I didn't want to bother her. I knew she was going to use her special abilities to hunt.